Let's get ready to go side-by-side racing, though. Chandler Lloyd, he is out of Bluffton, South Carolina. It's a 1989 GMC called Overtime. He's going to be facing David Morris out of Springfield, Tennessee, just a hop, skip, and a jump outside Nashville. It's called the Equalizer. It's a Chevrolet.
Well, Morris has a very unique vehicle. He's new. That's unique in itself. He's teamed up with Gary Cook, a longtime truck and tractor puller. They bounced over into the monster truck division and bounced in a big way. The red truck, the Equalizer, has a unique chassis. It also has a unique engine location. The engine behind the driver and low. And look at this. The new driver comes right out looking super, super strong. Chandler Lloyd not getting the run he wants with that GMC.
So David Morris, his first year on the Renegades TNT circuit, gets a win in Tallahassee.
Hey, Lars, out of Tennessee, you got to be tickled to death with that run, son.
Yes, sir, I am. I was proud of that run right there. It's just my second run with TNT, and I really did like that run.
I noticed there's a lot of water coming out of the truck. Do you have any idea what that is?
I think my pressure valve on my expansion tank, the cap on it is getting bad. And I'm going to have to replace my cap tomorrow if I can find one.
We're in quarterfinal round competition. Next up, Dave Lysoric, the Nightlife Chevrolet from Grand Island, Nebraska, facing David Morris, the Equalizer Chevrolet. He's out of Springfield, Tennessee.
Both drivers set patiently on the line. Al Goss has lined them up. They're looking for the green light. Equalizer, new truck, mid-engine location. And look, Richard, look how good that chassis works. Definitely an upset. Whoa, we might have some problems.
Good driving there by Dave Lysoric as he came across. On the replay, you'll see how close. First of all, though, David Morris with a great shot to take the upset win. But now watch Dave Lysoric. He tries to stop it. He turns violently around to the right, and bam! He almost gets a piece of that Equalizer.
Well, that was some heads-up drive, wasn't it?
We are down to the final four, the semifinals. There backing up is Steve Dane, the guy we call the Flying Texan with Awesome Kong, and he's taking on a very smoky David Morris and the Equalizer out of Springfield, Tennessee.
Richard, keep an eye on Morris. This kid is working his way up in the sport. I think that truck will be one of the toughest trucks on the tour. The engine location, the springs and everything, watch for the kid. However, he's got to get past Dane. He's not going to let Dane pull the wool over his eyes. Believe me, Morris is going to do everything he can to win. It's going to start right on the starting line. Morris has got to leave, and he does. Richard, look at the jump.
Got him a shot, and here comes Dane. Dane has done it again. Forget all of that blues crying that he has been doing. He has got him a win, and he's going to move into the championship round. We're going to kick it all off, though, with the kid that has been very impressive of late, David Morris out of Springfield, Tennessee. It's the Equalizer Chevrolet, and he is taking on, well, what can you say? This guy's a character. Bob Breen out of Jefferson City, Missouri, the Wild Hair Chevrolet.
Breen, a longtime motorcycle racer, switched over to monster trucks, but who does he draw in the first round? A kid out of Springfield, Tennessee, who's teamed up with Gary Cook, one of the most successful pullers in the pulling sport. They built a truck. Cook chose this young man to be his driver, and you're going to see why. The kid is an up-and-comer, Richard. Watch him in the red Chevrolet, mid-mounted engine look. Everything works perfect.
David Morris with a win in the Equalizer Chevrolet. The 22-year-old is on his very first year on this Renegade TNT Monster Truck circuit, and he gets a big win here in Tallahassee. He is going to be jumping up and down for joy. The crowd enjoyed that race. There you see David. He's a happy volunteer.
Richard, David Morris is trying to make a name for himself. You seem to be getting... Every time you drive that truck, you're getting smoother. Is it because you're getting used to the truck or what?
Yes, sir. Every time I make a run in it, it helps me get more comfortable with the truck. I'm running tonight with a busted airbag on the front of my truck, and it's causing me a little trouble on my landing and things like that, but I think maybe I can make out with it okay.
We'll let you get back. We'll see you in the next round. Good luck to you.
Thanks, Austin.
USA 1. We're about to get another one. It'll either be the Flying Texan, the kid from Killeen, Texas, Steve Dane. Awesome Kong, yes, that is a skinny Chevrolet, and he is going to be taking on the newest kid on the Block Army. That is David Morris, the Equalizer out of the great state of Tennessee.
You know, this kid out of the volunteer state driving the Equalizer impresses me a whole bunch. He's not afraid of anybody. He's got a good truck under him. A lot of technology in this truck that he's driving, the Equalizer. Look at Dane. He's pumped. He believes he's going to the next round. I guarantee you this kid out of Tennessee is going to give him all he wants. He's going to make Dane earn a win if he takes it. However, Equalizer could pull off an upset, Richard.
This is one of the few times on the circuit I've seen Steve Dane so serious, though.
Yeah, I believe he's actually having problems. I think the transmission's hurting him, and he knows this kid's coming after him. It's just like an old-time gunfight. The young kid is coming after the leader. It's going to happen right now.
Boy, it's tough when you're 28 years old like Steve Dane, and he's considered an old gunfighter. Here they go, and look out!
Oh.
We have got a dead heat. I do not... Army, could you tell trackside?
From our viewpoint, right at the end of the track, I have no idea who took that win.
All right, there you see our TNT officials. They are looking at the videotape replay of this race. And, guys, if you could back it up, let us see the finish here. Right there. That looks like Awesome Kong, Army.
Just by a little. I'll tell you, that's one of the best races we've had on the tour this year, Richard.
Officially, the winner, Steve, the Flying Texan Dane, and Awesome Kong. And, whoa, what a race.
I was saying earlier, you're coming along quick in this sport. I believe we got a win in the future real quick for you. Do you feel that confident in the truck? It looks great.
Yeah, I do. Like I said, I'm hurting for horsepower right now, but I do have another motor that I'm going to put in, and just a matter of time of getting it in. And I think with a little bit more horsepower, I can come off the line a lot faster and do better in the whole race.
Well, Richard, I got back to another TNT. Tennessee going after Texas. Texas took the win tonight. Before the year's over, let's get out of the volunteer state. I believe he's going to be there.
Everyone's pumped up. There you see some of these Floridians. They are pumped up for this other semifinal race coming up next. David Morris, an Equalizer, coming back as a fast loser, taking on the gravedigger of Dennis Anderson and Army. This crowd is on their feet.
They're up and at him. Believe me, the kid trying to work his way to the first final. Let's see what he can do. He's in the far lane going against the old pro, and we've got problems on the starting line as Morris will go into his first Renegade final.
David Morris with the win, but Army, what happened to Gravedigger?
Drivetrain problems once again, Richard.
All right, so Dennis Anderson's bad luck continues. David Morris with a great win, though.
Well, Richard, we might have a Cinderella story in the making here. David, congratulations on that run. Son, you're going to the final in the monster trucks against the best right now, USA 1.
Well, that's a great feeling right now. I just hope everything will stay together and we can have a pretty good runoff here.
We ought to have a super runoff, and I'm going to tell you something, Army. Even though he did not show it, David Morris has got to have 100 butterflies in his stomach right now.
You know, this kid reminds me of a gunfighter. Calm, cool, collective. This is what he came here for. He wants to go for the championship. In order to do it, he just has to beat one more truck. But who is the other truck? None other than the awesome USA #1 Chevrolet.
And, of course, that's the defending Renegades TNT national champion. So it's Equalizer, David Morris, the rookie, against USA 1, Rod Litzow, and the veteran. The crowd is on their feet. This is for all the marbles here in Tallahassee, and it looks like we've got us an even start.
What a shot. Look at the USA 1 out of Minnesota. Airs out the big Mountain Motor Chevrolet to go back in the winner's circle, Richard.
Coming out next is Doug Spanier, the master of disaster, and look out, Doug. You're taking on a dandy. It's the rookie driver, David Morris, the Equalizer machine out of the volunteer state of Tennessee.
Morris is the kid that everybody's going to be watching out for this year. This truck is completely different as far as the theory behind it. It has coilover springs. The engine is located behind the driver and low for a real low center of gravity. A lot of people think that David Morris is going to be the man to beat this year. That's a strong possibility. Look how smooth he is off of that right side of the track, Richard. That's the first win we've had off of that right side.
So dangerous David Morris and the Equalizer Chevrolet gets another win under the belt. Dave will now move into the quarterfinal round of competition, and he's going to move over to Army.
Well, David, you're going to the next round of eliminations, and notice that the builder of the truck is already headed back to the pit area with it. Did you have any kind of problems on that run?
Yeah, I don't know if carburetors are loading up on it or what. Still having a little problem with keeping my engine running, so I have to get him to take it out for me. Shut it off, I might not be able to get it started.
Wouldn't it be neat if John could face his brother Bob in the semifinals? We'll find out as Wild Hair and Bob Breen faces the rookie, dangerous David Morris and the Equalizer. David has been really the rookie sensation thus far this year, Army.
Well, he and the truck, the rookie driver is doing a great job, but the truck is working super well for him because of suspension engineering. Look at that. Now, Bream is running more horsepower than he's ever had, and the kid still drills him on the starting line. This Equalizer truck is unique, Richard.
And one thing interesting is David Morris is the only monster truck to win coming out of the right lane on the track. So he moves to the semifinals, and we move to an introduction of the Equalizer truck.
Once again, the chassis is one of the most important parts of any motorsporting vehicle, and everybody's got their own idea of what works in a monster truck. Now, standing with me right now is really a second-generation individual involved in motorsports, that being Gary Cook, the gentleman that owns and is responsible for building the Equalizer monster truck. And Gary, one of the most unique things about this truck and the chassis setup you have for your driver is the engine location. Can you tell us about the engine location and why you built it that way?
We felt like the truck would balance better by getting the engine as low as possible and to the rear to get the weight off of the front end, so that when you hit, it won't tend to nosedive. It'll tend to try to level out more so than nosedive. Kind of a stock car. I used to run stock cars for several years a long time ago, and we tried to take some of the principles from stock cars over into this.
The softness is a result of spring setup and a different front suspension you have on the truck with the A-frame type setup or the wishbone. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, it lets the front axle pivot without pivoting the body. The body can actually ride separate, you might say, from the axle. The axle can move without moving the body so that you don't whip the driver around his bed. And also we have a suspended seat, so when he hits, his seat can give down some, so that helps him take some of the abuse.
Well, it certainly paid off for Gary Porter, as he is going to be in the championship round here. Now, who is he going to face? It'll either be John Bad to the Bone Breen and Mad Dog, or Dangerous David Morris and the Equalizer. Army, give me a pick.
I'm going to pick the kid out of Tennessee. The chassis is just working too good. He's the only truck working on the right side. Now, that's not taking anything away from Breen. He's running awfully good himself. But this kid out of the Volunteer State is really making inroads in this sport. And he's going to be there, Richard. He'll be in the final, so the final is set, and it's going to be all Chevrolet.
And you called it right. Dangerous David Morris, the rookie driver, moves to the final round.
David, a rookie going to the finals. How do you feel about it?
Good.
You're working out of the right lane. Everybody says it's a bad lane. Nobody wants anything to do with it. You keep winning in it. I know he's going to push you over there. Does that bother you at all?
Oh, it makes me happy. I like that side.
Can you win this event tonight? You're looking awfully good.
It depends on my timing coming over the dirt pile, getting good control once I've got over it, getting back in it.
It's the rookie against the veteran. Carolina Crusher Gary Porter against David Morris and the Equalizer.
Well, Richard, both of them are happy campers. They're both in the lane they want to be in, but one of them will be the winner. He's going to advance and really jump up in his national point chase. The question, like you say, the kid or the veteran, and the kid takes the win back to the Volunteer State.
Calling the top gun, he has got the right stuff. David Morris with his first win of 1989. This will move him up further in the national point standings as he is chasing Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger.
Richard, it's amazing. This kid out of Tennessee has opened a lot of eyes. 1989 is going to be a great year for monster truck racing.
Well, that's going to wrap it up from Chicago. For Army Armstrong, I'm Richard Leake. We'll see you again on the tracks across America. They're moving back into first round action. Here comes one of the Bad Breen brothers. This is Bob Breen and the Wild Hair Chevrolet out of Barnett, Missouri, and he is taking on the rookie sensation, Dangerous David Morris, the Equalizer out of Tennessee. David, of course, won our last event of competition.
Well, Richard, Morris has already proven he's going to be a contender, a player, if you will, for this national point chase. He's currently number 2 in that points championship battle. But right now, he's going up against a man that has more horsepower than he's ever had before, that being the Wild Hair of Breen. Breen is what everybody's calling the good lane. Morris is the only kid that can win out of the right lane. Let's see what's going to happen. And Morris nails him right on the starting line. Richard, we're in trouble again. We got another one heading to the big end.
David Morris heads for the wall. I don't know if he hit anything. He went out of control after getting the win over Wild Hair. I don't know if he has hit anything or not. He is out of the truck now. Army is down there with him. Let's find out exactly what happened with the Equalizer.
David, you had a few exciting seconds there, but you did an awfully good job. You stayed cool. You did great.
Well, I tried to use my head. I knew the throttle hung on it. It hung wide open, and only thing I could do, I slammed it in park, hit the kill switch on it at the same time, and it finally did stop. So I hope it didn't do any damage.
Well, it doesn't look like it did any damage, but I tell you what, that's a perfect example of good common sense. That's exactly what he used. He say, calm, cool, and collected. This kid's going to be back another day.
Well, as a matter of fact, he'll be back to race in just a little while. No damage, it looks like, on the Equalizer machine. Army, David's wife, Nancy, is topside up here with us, and when he went under the tunnel, she grabbed me, and I thought if I was a piece of steel, I would have been bent.
Richard, I was in the tunnel. You should have been with me.
So we're moving on to see the master of disaster, Doug Spanier, face the kid that almost went through the wall last time out, Dangerous David Morris and the Equalizer Chevrolet.
We're going to see how good a monster truck driver this kid is right now. He almost went through the wall. Let's see what he's made of. Definitely the right stuff. It didn't bother him a bit. He attacked. That's an awfully close race, Richard. I can't tell.
Well, it was Dangerous David Morris and the Equalizer getting the win over Doug Spanier. So David comes back with nerves of steel.
Well, I say the best thing you can do when you fall off a horse is get right back on it and ride it, and that's exactly what you did. How did it feel to you, Dave?
It feels pretty good. I tried not to let that little incident bother me a while ago. I was ready for it this time just in case it did happen. But what happened a while ago was when I took that real hard landing, my foot buried on the throttle so hard that it bent the linkage, and where it goes through the floorboard, it would not come back up through the floorboard after it's bent. And it was hung about half wide open. But I got it killed before it did any damage.
So who is Anderson going to face for the championship today? It'll either be Super Dave Wyzorek in Nightlife or Dangerous David Morris, a rookie, in the Equalizer.
Boy, this is going to be a super race, Richard. They both line up. Again, you can feel the drama in this building. Who's going to go against the Gravedigger? We're going to find out in just a moment. The kid out of Tennessee looks awfully smooth in that right lane. Wyzorek, he's no slouch. He's going to push him to the limit. Coming out of the left lane. Both drivers clear the start, but look at this kid out of Tennessee. Boy, this kid is impressive.
David Morris, our last time out, won the championship. He's going to try to make it 2 in a row. There you see him acknowledging the great crowd here in Chicago. They're going to move back, get the truck ready to face the Gravedigger. About to come to a close as we're ready for the championship round. It is the rookie, 22 years of age, David Morris, the Equalizer, going up against the veteran, 28-year-old Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger.
Richard, everybody on that starting line right now is a winner in 89. Those are your number 1 and 2 trucks in the point standing. Let's see what's going to happen. It's going to be quick. They both leave side by side. Anderson pulls out a little bit. Morris trying to come back. Anderson takes, wow, what he's dominated in Chicago.
Dennis Anderson and the Gravedigger has just won the 3rd time in 4 events of 1989, this time over the Equalizer.
And welcome to Power Tracks, back in the Chicago International Amphitheater, where Army Armstrong, we're about to have our 5th points race of 1989 already this year. Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger has won 3 out of 4. But I want to talk to you about the kid that won the other race. We're talking about a rookie driver, David Morris, out of Tennessee, and the Equalizer. Is this kid for real?
Boy, he's for real, Richard, in a big way. I kind of look at this kid like he's a fighter pilot. We watched him last week in an emergency situation where he had to shut that truck down in a hurry. There's 3 things he had to do. He went through all 3 of them, proper steps, got the truck shut down, made the next round, went into the final. So he is here. One of the tricks with this young man is he listens to his mentor, that being Gary Cook, who many years, as you know, have been involved in the sport of pulling. Gary's now over in the monster trucks. He's hired a young gun to do his driving. This kid's doing a great job.
There you go. First round action. This is the Barbarian, Jim Miller. The people of Illinois are going to be cheering for him. He's a hometown boy, but look who he's taking on. Our most recent winner on the circuit, David Morris, the Equalizer out of Springfield, Tennessee. And this is a truck you said earlier, Army, could be the truck to knock off Gravedigger this year.
You know, you're right. I did say that, but I based my opinion on what all the other drivers were saying. This youngster has teamed up with a veteran. He listens. He's a smart driver. He's proven his driving ability. And the truck has a whole new concept. The engine sits behind the driver low, independent suspension. It handles extremely well. And this kid can really drive it. Right there's proof of it. Barbarian goes on the trailer, and the Tennessee truck is going to come back.
So David Morris moves on to the quarterfinals with an easy win this one over Jim Miller.
A real late leave on the starting line. What happened up there?
I was trying to get Al to see me. I wasn't ready. I actually had the truck in neutral when he gave a green light. So I had to grab a gear and go.
Finals. And now we'll find out who is going to be our other semifinalist. Mopar Magic gets come back because he was a fast time loser in the first round, and he takes on the Equalizer, David Morris, the rookie sensation.
Okay, we've been talking about Morris's truck being different. He has lane choice. Now look what he does. He comes over, wants nothing to do with that left lane. He goes to the right lane, so this truck is working where nobody else's truck will. This is kind of interesting, the amount of work these fellas put into these trucks and how they handle. And this kid out of Tennessee is not intimidated by that right lane at all. He just bangs into this next round of elimination.
So David Morris, maybe we'll rename him the Flying Tennessean because he got that win in a high-flying way. There goes Dennis Anderson. Is going to be in the championship today in Chicago. Who is he going to face? It will either be the rookie sensation, the Equalizer, and David Morris out of Tennessee, or the real veteran, Gary Porter, Carolina Crusher from North Carolina.
It's going to be an even shot, Richard. The kid in the right lane is working extremely well. He's where he wants to be. Carolina Crusher's where he wants to be. It's up to the drivers now. Both powered by Chevrolet. They get a good lead.
Whoa! What a close race, but David Morris and the Equalizer comes flying through the air at the finish line to grab the win by maybe a tire.
Boy, you were right when you said flying. He flew to that victory.
As a matter of fact, Gary Porter had him at the starting line, then Morris powers through for the win, and that is going to set up a heck of a championship race between David Morris and the Equalizer and Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger. Now, Dennis is trying to avenge his last loss, which was to the Equalizer.
There are 5 events in Chicago. These 2 trucks have won them all. The Equalizer, he won the last event. The Gravedigger won the first 3. Can the Gravedigger make it 4 out of 5 in Chicago? We're going to find out right now, but you can believe me, both of these drivers are tickled to death to be in the final. They're both in the lanes they want to be in. It's going to be a super run.
And they're also number 1 and number 2 in the national point standing. So very important for the points race. We wait for the green light to come out in Chicago.
Last indoor event. Who's it going to be? Tennessee or Virginia? The kid out of Tennessee leads good. Gravedigger comes back. Richard the Gravedigger. 4 out of 5 in Chi-Town.
So Dennis Anderson and the Gravedigger avenges his only point loss of the year with a big win over David Morris and Equalizer.
The first outdoor race on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge for 1989. We're going to look at some of the qualifying action, Army, and, you know, over the previous weeks, we've been talking about this guy right here, the Equalizer, and David Morris from Springfield, Tennessee.
Well, David Morris runs a unique setup, and it could really work for him this afternoon. He'll be running the high side of the track. You'll notice there's going to be a high and a low side. I'm anxious to see which driver goes into what lane. Now, the driver's theory is the higher the track, the less water you're going to have on it because the water will run downhill. Morris literally comes down the track, looks awfully good. We're in the qualifying session. Morris lays down a real good job, smooth, and powers all the way out the end. So that shows that it can be done. Boy, this kid has started to generate a following already, Scott.
Smooth as silk, 9.42. That matchup is going to be Equalizer against Mad Dog. John Breen, Mad Dog, Jefferson City, Missouri, lining up to go against David Morris of Springfield, Tennessee, and Equalizer.
Well, the kid out of Tennessee, the rookie, quick qualifying time, definitely going to have to keep an eye on him, but experience is going to be set to his right. The youngster picks by virtue of his quick qualifying time the lane he wants to go into. He goes the left lane, the Mad Dog comes out with him, but look at the kid come off of that ramp. He is attacking. What a beautiful run by the Equalizer. This could be it. This kid is working his way to the top, Scott.
And problems for Mad Dog, but the Equalizer just flat picked him up and laid him down out of Springfield, Tennessee. As you can see, a bad break for John Breen and Mad Dog, but the winner is Equalizer and David Morris.
Dave, what's the track like out there tonight?
Actually, it's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. At first, I thought it'd be real slippery and slick, but it seems like everything's pretty smooth so far, so I think the track's going to get better.
Again, as we go on now to the quarterfinal round here at Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm Scott Douglas with Army Armstrong, and Army overtime and Equalizer. And I think of all the matchups in this round, this is the one I'm looking forward to most.
This is going to be awfully interesting because the GMC is going to be going to the inside. The youngster out of Tennessee, by virtue of quick qualifying, keeps working to the high side of the track. He believes that's the drier side of the track because the moisture's running down, and it looks to be working for him as the Equalizer is having no problem at all. Look at this. This young man has got a righteous setup on that Equalizer truck. It's just like he's running on dry pavement. The truck is working exceptionally well.
What an impressive run for Equalizer. We're going to look at it again, and we're going to roar it right into your living room. It's Equalizer coming on the right-hand side as you face the screen. And, boy, you can see just how smooth he is, Army.
Yeah, also you notice the suspension on that truck. All four corners have a tendency to give a little bit different than the truck immediately to his right on the inside of the track. So this truck is working, and it's working awfully good, Scott.
Outstanding Final Four. One of the up-and-coming young stars in this sport right here. David Morris of Springfield, Tennessee in the Equalizer. And there's the Ford, Army. The only one left. John Moore, Lafayette, Tennessee, and no problem.
Well, John Moore said it only took one. We're going to find out right now. If we have an opportunity, I want you to watch the Equalizer truck and watch how it lands. This truck, I call it lollygaggling. It has such gyrations, but it still goes straight. Now, Moore comes out on him. The kid's got to come back hard. Look at this. Oh, some great driving by the rookie out of Tennessee. We might have a problem here. Both vehicles are ground for disqualification since they both missed the ramp. However, since they both missed it, the winner will come back. That means the Equalizer's going to the final.
Yeah, watch. This will be a great angle, Army, right here. You'll see they both actually missed the last ramp of cars. If only one of them would have done it, there would have been a disqualification. Since they both missed, here it comes right here, Army. They will both be allowed to survive, and Equalizer goes to the championship. Equalizer in what ought to be a dandy of a championship matchup.
Scott, this race started in the first qualifying session. These trucks qualified 1 and 2. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. They worked their way through eliminations, and they meet at the final. Gary Porter would love to take a win in his own home state. However, this kid out of Tennessee, believe me, is going to make him earn it if he's going to get it. It's going to be an awfully close race. The experience side is going to have to go to Porter. But just pure determination, you got to pull for this kid with the Equalizer truck.
Boy, it's like the six-gun fight in the Old West.
Yeah,
Here comes the new kid on the block, Gary Porter, the well-known quantity, one of the best around. But the Equalizer is going to take a shot at him right here for all the marbles in Raleigh.
Boy, what a start. They lead side by side. Both drivers coming out. They're still equal. Now the Equalizer starts to move it out a little bit. Oh, what a run. It cost him. Look, he lost an engine right on the end of the track as he pulls down for the interview. The kid from Tennessee will take the win.
A great race in our championship matchup. Gary Porter, Carolina Crusher, got the early lead, but then the Equalizer came on so strong over that last set of cars and comes up with a very impressive victory to gain a lot of points on national point leader Greg Digger, who you'll remember broke in qualifying. It's the second win of the year for a truck designed by a tractor pulling guy, Gary Morris and the monster truck Equalizer. Here's Army with the winner.
Dave Morris, congratulations, your second win in 1989.
Thanks, Army.
It looked tough out there.
It was. I've been holding off just as much as I can. I hadn't really called on the truck all night, and that time I really pushed it hard, really as hard as it would go.
We'll let you get back with the truck again. Congratulations on your second win in 89.
Thanks.
A sensational, action-packed hour right here on Tough Track. Now, that'll wrap it up for this week. Equalizer moves closer to Gravedigger in the national point standing.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Raleigh, North Carolina. We're going to bring to you today the Dirty Dozen, 12 of the meanest monster trucks in America competing for the national championship crown. Standing with me right now on my left, David Morris, a young man that's on a roll out of the volunteer state of Tennessee. You're on a roll. Everything looks good for you. How are you going to stay in contention for these national championship points?
I'm going to just run as consistent and hard as I can. That's the best I can do.
Now, you run a Chevrolet supercharged engine, kind of a unique truck. The location of the engine, the lowness of the engine. Does this give you an advantage over some of these other drivers?
Yes, I think it does. I think it keeps my center of gravity to a lower point. That way I'm not top heavy as bad.
North Carolina truck in the home state here at Raleigh is Mopar Magic. That's Gary Wiggins out of Williamstown, North Carolina, and he's got a tough assignment. He draws David Morris and the Equalizer, the winner from a week ago. Now, Wiggins has run strong, qualified pretty well today with a 10.95, but he's got to go up against the Equalizer, Army.
Yeah, like you say, Scott, Wiggins drew the short straw this afternoon. I got a feeling this Equalizer is going to be the truck we got to watch today. Notice that the chassis set up on the Equalizer, the track conditions really don't affect him that much. He's still attacking the track, powering all the way through. Get out of the volunteer state. We'll see him in the next round.
Boy, super run. I mean, Equalizer flat really seemed to have the speed. He's the only one also that seems to be getting out of the hole well. We'll keep our eye on Equalizer having a good run as he defeats Mopar Magic in opening round action from Raleigh, North Carolina.
Our way. Look who's on the starting line right now. Mr. Consistency. John Moore will be representing the Ford camp on the inside track, and this kid out of Tennessee with the awesome Chevrolet going the outside. The range of stops. The track's getting a little bit better, and this kid is loaded for bear. Look at this. What a run. Oh, he's got some problems. He's got his hands full coming right at it. Whoa, I'm glad he was driving that truck and not I.
Pull him off the coffee table, gang. He almost came really right into your living room. Problems for the Equalizer as he barely got her stopped. Army Armstrong's going to go over and see if he can get a word with the kid out of Springfield, Tennessee, David Morris, after another Equalizer victory.
David, looks like you're going to advance to the next round, but we heard some awfully strange sounds right at the finish line.
Yeah, that's right. You heard a front drive shaft flopping.
So you're going to be able to get back in the next round?
I think maybe it just pulled the yokes apart. I hope that's all that happened, but I see a little oil, so I don't know.
It is definitely going to be an attrition race. We'll see who's able to make it back to the semifinal.
Pro versus horsepower, I'll take Old Pro today.
An old pro by the name of Gary Cook tried to get his Equalizer ready. They had the maximum amount of time, couldn't get her fixed, and that allowed, no problem, as you mentioned, Army, to come back and take on Jersey Outlaw. Here's the guy, Army, on Tough Track that we've talked about an awful lot. The young superstar maybe coming up in this sport, David Morris out of Springfield, Tennessee in the Equalizer.
Now, the Equalizer runs a completely unique chassis setup, and you can see the problems he's going to have. You notice how the truck had a tendency to lean left and right. It's really what I call lollygaggle. The truck runs extremely well straight. It's a whole new ballgame right now. They're going to have to literally tighten the chassis down. This kid normally really attacks the track. Right now, he's just trying to keep it inside the guardrails. Look at this guy. He is having all kind of problems. Engine in the truck located to the rear, below the driver. The horsepower's there. It is just not handling.
He seems to keep very good momentum in the turns, but had a problem coming off the cars. Here he comes again. Doesn't hit him especially hard. It'll be a pretty good lap, but I don't think it's going to get up there with John Moore's lap.
I guarantee you, he and the truck owner, Gary Cook out of Tennessee, they're going to be making some changes. A good run, 43.59, but the 41-second Ford sits on top of this thing right now.
Next matchup, here's the Thunder Chicken out of Catawissa, Pennsylvania, and Kid Rary. The Thunder Chicken's opponent, David Morris, an Equalizer.
Thunder Chicken will work the outside of the track in the first half. He has problems. The transmission not shifting for him. He's staying in low gear. The kid he's going against, the Equalizer, is having his share of problems too. Now remember, qualifying the Equalizer was really out of shape. This kid is not attacking the track. The truck looks a little bit better, and I believe as the afternoon goes on, the Equalizer is definitely going to be a player for the win. But right now, he kind of got an easy run here. This is a good opportunity for the Equalizer truck. You notice how the truck's got. Doesn't seem to really want to handle it. Actually push him out towards the outer wall. So the Equalizer's going to advance. Thunder Chicken having some transmission problems. Not going to be around in the next round, but this Equalizer truck is going to be tough before this day's over if they can get the handling figured out.
Kind of reminds me of the bye run that Gravedigger had. David Morris, not threatened for the win, got to get a free run around the track. Look at what happened. Now they'll go back and do some more adjusting. Rematch as some of the other trucks continue to get ready. We're going to go ahead and come on out right now with the Equalizer and Thunder Chicken.
Well, they're pairing the other trucks up back in the pit area. Well, we're going to have an opportunity to see here. Oh, we've got some liquid coming out of the Thunder Chicken already. The heat's starting to get to him on the starting line, and the Equalizer comes out. Now, you've got to remember, the Equalizer made one run. They had problems in qualifying. He ran Thunder Chicken a moment ago. The truck looked better, but look at this, Scott. He's got the truck figured out now for sure.
He's flat flying. You can see Thunder Chicken is beaten already, and there's stuff pouring out of him. Now, he knows this. David Morris is not going to wear it out on the cars on this run, knowing he's in good shape. But as Thunder Chicken struggles, look at Morris. When he goes around this track right now, he seems so fast. Thunder Chicken hits the cars, and he really doesn't seem to have a whole lot of power. Watch Morris. He's going to come into your screen in a minute because he's flying.
Well, the Thunder Chicken, a problem they have, and everybody knew it going in, he lost second gear in the transmission, so it can only run low and high gear. And David Morris, again, is using this particular run just to get the truck dialed in, and he and the truck owner, Gary Cook, they have figured out the problem. This kid's going to be tough. You mark my words, Scott. I just got a feeling about him today in Louisville.
Yeah, he ran the first 2 turns, and in 3 and 4, he just backed off. He had it won. He saved his equipment because there are bigger fish to fry later today in Louisville when he'll come back in the semifinal round. So our first semifinalist, David Morris out of Springfield, Tennessee, in the Equalizer. We will find out because they have just taken the green light. On the outside, Gary Porter, the Carolina Crusher. Waitsboro, North Carolina. On the inside, David Morris, the Equalizer from Springfield, Tennessee. The winner goes to the final.
In between each round, they've been tightening the chassis up on his Equalizer. Looks to be working, but he's halfway through. That means he's got to go to the high side for the second half. The Carolina Crusher told us a moment ago what he's going to do. He's going to drill it all the way around. We have got one good monster truck racing going. The lane choice is going to be so important right now because the inside lane's the place to be. But look at the Equalizer. I don't know. From my viewpoint, Scott Douglas, I cannot tell who won that race.
It was so close. We're going to look at it on the videotape as they come off the cars together. Carolina Crusher noses in front, and there you see it by a half a wheel, a hubcap, if you will. The win is the Gary Porter and Carolina Crusher.
Kind of like the Phoenix. He was down and out, but he's fighting his way back. He's going to the final.
This gentleman here, David Morris, the driver of the Equalizer. Now, he's only a rookie on the circuit, but he's number 2 in the national point standings. And, David, this is a whole new ball game going outside. We're used to seeing your power on a straight shot. How are you going to work a figure 8?
Well, it's going to be a lot different. Here, you're going to have a whole lot of speed. You got to go along with that speed. You have turning. It's just going to be a lot different than your drag style racing. You're just going to have to use a good strategy with it.
But you'll be ready to rock and roll.
I'll be ready.
All right, so David Morris, Equalizer, is ready. Army is ready. I'm ready. We're going to be back with first round action in a moment on ESPN. But maybe this Ford can have a better run. John Moore, no problem, out of Lafayette, Tennessee. And he is going to be taking on, whoa, what a dandy of a kid, David Morris. I call him Dangerous David Morris, the Equalizer Chevrolet. You know the story about this truck. Built by a famous TNT puller by the name of Gary Cook.
Morris leaves like a rocket on the starting line, works the inside of the track. Now, John Moore with the Ford really looks like he's behind. It's about an even race at this point. Morris will back on the throttle to try to get lined up. Remember, the Chevrolet, the Equalizer we're looking at there, will finish on the outside of the track. Goes over the jumps. Clean, Richard. Richard Leake, that's amazing how good that truck handles and how good that young man can drive it. He's having no problem at all with this.
He is a smooth, young driver. Now he is going to back down just a little bit, save his equipment, it looks like, Army.
Yeah, he backs out of the throttle just a little bit. He knows where the no-problem Ford is. He's going into the next round. Now, one thing about the Equalizer, they'll go back and the crew will completely go over that truck and tighten it up. That's one thing they said they need to do. Racing at Louisville, you got to keep tightening that chassis up.
Another guy that's going to be on it all the way is our fast qualifier, Gary Porter, Carolina Crusher out of Wadesboro, North Carolina. This is our first opportunity to see Gary actually in a side-by-side race because he was top qualifier. He got a run in that first round, and he's taking on a guy that could knock him off very easily. It is the Equalizer, Dangerous David Morris out of Tennessee. This guy, David, is currently number 1 in the national point standings. Gary Porter is currently number 3.
Boy, Richard, they left that starting line like a couple of drag cars, side by side. Even though they weigh 13,000 pounds, they were coming out smoking. Equalizer working the inside. Look at that kid out of Tennessee. He's attacking that track on the inside, but Porter will have the short way around in the second half. Can the Equalizer hold him off? Porter's going after him. Oh, what a shot. Porter goes to the inside real quick, Richard. No, we've got problems with Porter. He's going into the infield. The Equalizer's going to go to the next round. I have no idea what went away on a Crusher.
Army, he came over that first set of junk cars, and it looked like he took a hard hit when he came down, possibly steering problem, as there you see the Equalizer get his win. Now we're ready to find out who is going to be facing Clydesdale for today's championship. It'll either be Starvin Marvin Smith and the Stomper Chevrolet, or Dangerous David Morris out of Tennessee, the Equalizer. David just recently, Army, took over the lead in the Renegades national point standings.
Could be a dream come true. You're a Cinderella year for the Equalizer. He's on the inside, Stomper on the outside. Marvin Smith told us a moment ago That's where he wants to be, but I'm amazed at how quick they move with the Equalizer truck. It comes off the starting line like a pro stocker in a drag racing circuit, and it weighs 13,000 pounds. This kid has already built up about a 50-meter lead, Richard.
What a jump, a little bit out of shape, but he gets it under control quickly. But don't give up on Marvin Smith. He's coming back.
Now, Marvin's trying to work the inside, and this kid knows it. The winner's going into the final against the Clydesdale. Who's it going to be? Tennessee or Missouri? The kid cranks the wheel, trying to get across the finish line to go in the final. That's it. The volunteer state going against the show me state. For the
Whoa, look out!
Marvin Smith doing some heads-up driving. Richard, it's amazing. It's not over in these monster truck races till they throw the flag.
Oh, you saw Marvin wave to the crowd. That was great driving to keep that truck from tipping over, and I'll tell you exactly what he did as we see a replay coming across the finish line. There you see David Morris and the Equalizer get the win. But watch Marvin Smith as he comes up and over. He actually accelerates more when he feels himself tipping over, and he powers through that, doesn't he, Arm?
Yeah, you got to throttle out of trouble. The natural instinct is to hit your brakes. That would be disastrous in this sport.
And an interesting contrast in trucks. We've got Bennett Clark and Clydesdale, the Chevrolet that is 11.5 feet high. It weighs over 12,000 pounds against the Equalizer, and David Morris, his Chevrolet is only 8.5 feet high, and it weighs only 9,500 pounds.
9,500 pounds that leads the starting line like a 3,000-pound pro stock on a drag racing circuit. That kid is tough, works the inside of the track. Richard, it's just amazing how quick that truck runs, and it runs quick for a long time. He just goes out and keeps going. Suspension working great. Look at that. Very little error, Richard. He stayed close to the cars. But Clark's not giving up. Boy, Bennett Clark's trying to come back. He's trying to reel him in. There's only one more turn to decide who's going to be the champion. Richard, what does it look like from your viewpoint?
I saw David Morris turn around, look over his shoulder to see where Bennett was, and he is going to get the win. David Morris, 22 years of age, his first year in monster truck racing, knocks off Bennett Clark, 32 years of age, 4 years in a monster truck, and the rookie has done it again. He has gotten another win. That means he is going to expand his lead on the Renegades TNT National Point Circuit. David Morris unhooking all the safety equipment, as has Bennett Clark. A good race, but a win for David Morris.
David Morris, second win of the year, but you had to work for it. He pushed you to the limits.
Yes, he was really coming in there on the last of that race. He had me worried there for a minute. I knew he was going to be trying his best, but luckily I just gassed it all it had there at the last and went ahead and pulled home.
Well, I want to congratulate you and Gary Cook on a tremendous win here in Louisville, Kentucky. Gary Cook has definitely teamed up with an outstanding young man. It's his first year. We're not going to call him a rookie anymore. This kid is the star of the future.
I got to tell you, one of his biggest problems, though, right now, Army, is the opponent. He goes up against maybe the hottest guy in the business today, the Equalizer, David Morris, the youngster out of Springfield, Tennessee, as you get a look at Mike Wine, the Jersey Outlaw from Browns Mills, New Jersey.
Yeah, Mike Wine's luck may have gone from bad to worse with this draw. He knows he's got to take a shot at the guy. It can be done out of the left lane. The engine's brand new, like he said, and the Equalizer truck working the right lane. This kid is a comer. Look at that. Look how smooth he is. The truck seems to have its own characteristics. This young man's a great driver. He's going to advance to the next round.
He is so strong at keeping that truck out of the air, kind of taking low jumps and able to cut through the air. That helps, of course, his time every time out as he gets the win over that man right there, the Jersey Outlaw Ford. Big troubles for Mike Wine, and they'll continue to work on that. Army is caught up with the winner, David Morris.
When we started the show, we were talking to David Morris with the Equalizer. Well, he's doing his job tonight. He's won the first round. The chances of you meeting Crusher, and that's what all the crowd's waiting to find out, due to the qualifying session and the way the rounds are set up, if you're going to meet him, it's going to be in the final. Do you still think you can hang on and beat him and take that flag away from him?
I hope I can, Army. This track, it's pretty rough. It gets you a lot out of control if you don't watch what you're doing, so maybe I can just keep my control and win.
Where do you get out of control? Is it going onto the cars, coming off of them, or what?
It's coming off the cars. When you come off the cars, if you gas it too hard before that, it'll tend to end-to-end hopping action. So if I can keep it from doing that, maybe I can do pretty good.
Yeah, a tough break in that three-car jump that they're going over is causing all kind of problems. That's why we're getting this disqualifications. But look who's going out now. Chevrolet versus Ford. Equalizer against no problem. Scott, what does it look like from your angle?
Coming down, the Equalizer really cuts through the air. He's got the edge going to the last set of jumps. and it is Equalizer getting the win over the no-problem Ford Bronco. David Morris does it again and gets the win, but I'll tell you, no problem was able to hang in there. John Moore out of Lafayette, Tennessee, gave it a good run, coming up just a little bit short of the powerful Equalizer and David Morris.
Scott, he is going to have that left lane for the final, no matter who wins this race. Porter, by virtue of that quick qualifying time, and that's why qualifying is so important, he's going to get that lane choice. Look for him to go to the left. The question will be, who's going to be running out of the right lane? We're going to find that out right now. We've got a Ford in the far lane going against a Chevrolet in a lane closer to the spectators. The kid, we're not calling him a rookie anymore. Believe me, he's taking those rookie stripes off already. He's flexed his muscle. He's shown he's a good monster truck driver. Morris will be working the right side for the Chevrolet camp. Moore working the left side. It's your call.
It's been a replay. We had this matchup earlier. Equalizer got an early jump, and then no problem came back to make a race of it. Again, it's David Morris. Look at him go over the cars. He almost loses control. The wheels are back in. Back up over the cars. David Morris and Equalizer. Carolina Crusher and Gary Porter. That'll be our championship match.
It's going to be a war at the final. Two Chevrolets going. Who's going to take the flag out of here? We're going to find out in just a little bit.
David Morris and Gary Porter. Army's got them both.
Well, Scott, when we started the show, it started just like we are right now. This man was on my left with the Carolina Crusher carrying the flag from taking a win last time out. It's the final time. Can you hang on to the flag?
I think so. I really love having that flag on the back of my truck with those Trailmaster shocks and the big A auto parts. I think I can take the win.
What lane are you going to be coming out of?
I'll be taking the left lane.
And that kind of makes you awfully happy because you've been running out of the right lane all night long, and it works good for you. Dave Morris, Equalizer, you said at the beginning of the show you were going to carry the flag out of here tonight. Can you still do it?
I hope I can. We'll just have to wait and see.
You know, it's kind of amazing. This guy from Tennessee is so easygoing and so quiet, but he's also so very fast. The final's coming your way. Stay tuned. It's going to be a Donnybrook. It's going to be an awfully good race. And I don't want to use that cliche over and over again, but I have no idea who's going to win it. I know both trucks are exactly where they want to be. Morris wants that flag. The flag indicates the last winner. It's a psychological boost. Porter wants to hang on to it. It's a good lead, the starting line. The right lane's out a little bit. It looks like the kid out of Tennessee coming out of good. Coming off the second ramp, looked awfully good. And Scott, the flag is going to change hands in Lima, Ohio.
Impressive run for David Morris and the Equalizer out of Springfield, Tennessee. What's really impressive, we're going to see a replay in a moment, and watch after he comes off the second set of cars. Morris does get back off of it for a minute, straightens up to make sure both of those front wheels hit the cars so there aren't any disqualifications, and then he takes the win. Look how high he got.
Well, what happens is he runs a unique chassis on the truck, and the four-wheel suspension works a little bit better. It enables him to actually correct the truck quicker than the other fellas, and that's what won it for him. Just some heads-up quick driving.
Great point about the way he's able to keep his speed up while they're able to make the shift and get back in line to go over that last set of cars. Well, here it is on Tough Tracks. Each week, David has to duck, but he will get the spoils. The silver flag signifying his victory here on Tough Tracks. Army, there's an interested observer.
Yeah, David and his lovely wife has been married about 2 or 3 months. She's standing there all smiles. You know, he's really teamed up with a good combination. Gary Cook and this kid are going to be a power before this year's over.
And when we see him again next week on Tough Tracks, they will be carrying the silver flag, significant of victory here on Tough Tracks with the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. David Morris, the winner, and Army Armstrong talks to our champion from tonight.
Well, David, you did exactly what you said you were going to do. You're really getting good at this, and you seem to really be getting excited now.
That was a wild ride right there. It seemed like it got every which way but loose that time.
The truck, you got to come out of the lane you wanted to. He got to come out of the lane he wanted to. No excuses. You just wanted. Everybody laid their cards on the table, and when it went to the finish line, it was you tonight. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Looking at it one more time, David Morris and Equalizer really pounded the cars, and then that unique chassis setup allows him to make the adjustment to go over that final set and come away with the victory over Gary Porter and Carolina Crusher.
For the second week of Monster Truck action on the TNT Motorsports Monster Truck Series. Standing with me right now, a young man that has a dubious 2 honors that he's got to uphold tonight. Number 1, he's going to be carrying this prestigious silver flag, indicates he's the winner of the last event. Plus, David Morris, driver of the Equalizer, is your current national points leader. David, it's your rookie year, but you're not acting like a rookie. You are controlling this sport right now. How are you going to keep doing that?
Well, Gary Cook, the owner, and I, and all the rest of the crew, we've been working hard to try to keep the truck going. As long as we can run consistent, we'll do pretty good in this.
I noticed during the rounds of eliminations,
Speaking of consistency, you're always working on the truck. Some of the other drivers just go back and let them set, but you guys are always working on the truck. Has that been a factor in getting you in the lead for the national points chase?
Yes, we always go over the truck and check it, just make sure everything is perfect before I go out for another run.
You had the national points lead before last week's event. You won last week's event. Now you have the points lead and the flag. And the flag is something that everybody's going to be trying to take away from you. What are you going to be doing to hang on to it?
I'm going to just run as hard as I can, but not push the truck over the limit. Just keep it up to the limit and run consistent.
And Kid Rarick. Now, as they get ready for this matchup, we talked with David Morris about how important it is to determine which lane you're going to run in the side-by-side elimination.
The first thing I usually do is get out and see which lane that I think I might want to run in versus the other lane. One's going to be better than the other one, things like that. There's always a good lane and a bad lane. One's going to be more controllable than the other.
Well, David Morris in the Equalizer is going to put it in that right-hand lane, or the near lane to us as we're watching on the video screen today.
You know, Scott, what's interesting is the good lane and bad lane to David Morris is 180 degrees off from where everybody else stands. He comes to the right side. Everybody else has been fighting to get in that left lane. Morris, with the chassis setup he has, look how smooth he goes. He works the lane that nobody else wants, and he wins out of it. This truck, this kid, and this crew definitely are going to be contenders for this national points chase. They have found something, and everybody else is still looking for it.
Well, the thing about it, too, Army, is he is able to keep so straight and so in control. And you talked about the way this truck has got the innovations, the way he can actually control the way his wheels come off that second set and keep him in good shape. Another tribute to Gary Cook, who prepared this truck.
Well, he took a year in building the truck. The engine location, the suspension, everything is unique in the sport, and it is working awfully good. Good enough to make the other drivers think about building a truck similar to the Equalizer.
Final matchup here in the quarterfinal round, and this has been the truck too hot to handle so far in Lima.
Too hot to handle, working out of the lane that nobody wants with an engine combination that's so unique. The engine sits right below the driver. That black box area you just saw, that's where the engine is located. Low center of gravity. They built the truck to stay close to the cars they're going over. You notice the first set of cars he just drives over. Second set, a little bit of air, not a whole lot. Now they got to be squared for that final shot. Look how quick the truck comes back. I tell you what, that kid out of New Jersey, Mike Wine, just had a super run right there. Equalizer looked like he's going to advance, but the 04 really made him work for it, Scott.
Made him work for it, but Equalizer able to keep her straight. And again, the Gary Cook prepared truck that David Morris drives so well is in the Final Four, where he waits to see who his opponent will be. It'll either be the Thunder Chicken on the far part of the screen, or closest to us and about to pull up tight to that start line, the Equalizer and David Morris. And he obviously is the truck to beat. But Thunder Chicken surprised us last round, Army, when he upset Marvin Smith and Stomper.
Well, last week he had a whole lot of problems getting his engine jetted right. The man that helped him was Marvin Smith, driver of the Stomper. He's already put him on the trailer. This is the furthest he's been in eliminations all year long, but believe me, he has picked on the bad boy in the sport to pull up next to, but he's giving him a real good run. Equalizer, not really. Look at this, side by side. The final jump's going to tell it.
Wow. Sensational matchup. You gotta tip your hat to Thunder Chicken. A great run for Kid Rarig, but he falls just barely short. The winner will be the Equalizer as David Morris fights like the dickens to hang on to that silver flag. So we've got, I think, what we expected when we started, although it was tough for both of them to get there. Carolina Crusher against Equalizer. Army, how do you see that championship?
Well, Scott, Lima, Ohio is going to see an all-Chevrolet final for the second week in a row. This is the way it's going to line up. Equalizer, he's your current national point leader. He has the flag by virtue of winning last week. Going against him is going to be the Carolina Crusher. He's currently number 2 in the national points chase, and he wants that flag. We talked to Gary Porter a moment ago, and he said if that kid's going to keep the flag, he's going to have to earn it. It's going to be a battle. It's coming up next.
So we're back to Lima, Ohio, and again, we'll see if David Morris and the Equalizer can do it again. We saw him win last week here at Lima on tough tracks. You just saw highlights from him winning at the Citadel in Charleston, South Carolina. Can he do it again and pad that point lead? We're about to find out. Equalizer and Carolina Crusher. A week ago, Equalizer beat the Crusher.
Just a minute ago, when they went into the vehicles, the driver of the Carolina Crusher looked at me and said, I'm going after him. I'm going to get the flag back. Well, actions speak louder than words. The flag's on the Equalizer. The Crusher moves into the lane. Yellow truck, far side, quick qualifying time of the night, lane choice. He's where he wants to be. The Equalizer's where he wants to be. Porter is coming after this kid in the Equalizer with a vengeance. He wants him in the worst way.
A great start, and it looks like, again, Equalizer has himself a good shot on that right lane.
Keep an eye on Porter. He's setting up for the final. Now he goes. Porter pulls the trigger and goes into the winner's circle. Gary Porter did not care about the first two jumps. He just wanted to be setting straight for the final, and it paid off for him, Scott.
He left himself just stable enough off that second jump, but with plenty of momentum, and then he really nailed the throttle, let it all hang out over that final set of cars, and it was all Carolina Crusher, and I think everybody a little bit surprised at the relative ease with which Carolina Crusher seemed to get the victory over Equalizer.
Yeah, but the Equalizer, Morris did a beautiful job. He came off of that second jump really out of shape. The truck responded good, but Porter didn't care about the second jump. He was just looking at the far end of the track where the finish line is.
Now, here's a guy who's been hot all season, the national point leader, David Morris, and the Equalizer out of Springfield, Tennessee. Now, earlier, as he got ready, we asked him how he's going to drive on this narrow track.
I'm not really sure yet. I'm going to try to run a fast race, but we're going to have some tight quarters here in this race, so it's going to have a lot of control along with the fast speed.
That would seem to play right into David Morris's hand because, Army, if there's one thing he's had all year on a lot of these courses, it's more control, better handling, the ability to straighten his truck out quicker than other trucks.
Yeah, his truck is a very responsive truck. You notice a little out of shape. He backs up, nails the throttle again, and lays down a good run. But again, like we said in the interviews, everybody is aware of the wall. A 7:66 is what we get for his qualifying time. Not bad. That'll put him in the top half of the field. Good. Now let's go door-to-door monster truck racing.
First up, Dave Wychorek, Nightlife out of Nebraska will be taking on Equalizer and the youngster David Morris, the national point leader out of Tennessee.
Scott, keep an eye on both of these drivers. I believe their subconscious is going to make them try to both fudge to the inside of the track. Now the Equalizer leads real good in the left lane. A strong run. He's going to advance. He'll be going against USA 1 in that next round of eliminations. That could be an all-star setup itself. But I hope we've got a replay coming up on it because the camera angle on the end of the track is going to show you they're both trying to work the middle of the track. Nobody wants to get near the wall. Notice the replay comes up now. Equalizer out. He goes to the middle. Nightlife, he goes to the middle. And everybody trying to stay away from that wall. Look at them. They come 1-2 right across the finish line. Just about buy a ticket and go sit on the other side of the fence to watch this next race. The kid out of Tennessee, your national point leader, trying to bump off number 1, the USA 1 Chevrolet, and they're off and at it.
It's the defending national champion closest to you, USA 1, and the new kid on the block, the point leader, Equalizer.
Oh, he's going over, Scott.
He lost the wheel and has flipped it to Equalizer, and David Morris is on his side. The camera's getting us a good
We're
shot.
going to get him out. He looks all right, Scott. It was close.
He has come out of the truck on his own power. You can see several running over to help him out. The EMTs are there. There's John Moore in the yellow driving suit coming over, another Tennessee driver, to see how David Morris is. And, of course, the TNT officials on hand, and the crowd is standing after a wild ride. Army's back with us. Army, look at this replay, and we'll see if we can look at the back end go up.
What happened? The truck landed good, but it took a bad bounce. The left front suspension collapsed, and he high-sided it in the worst way, crushing the right side of the truck down. The driver is okay. All the safety equipment held up, but what a ride.
What a ride indeed, David Morris. And there he is waving to the crowd. He's okay. An incredible ride for the Equalizer. Here's Army with David Morris.
Davey, you set up a war and you fought a good battle. I can't think of anything else that you could have done to win that thing. It was awesome.
Well, I didn't know what happened. I knew I made a good landing when I landed, and I don't know, I couldn't figure out why the truck would be rolling, but I knew it was, so I hope it didn't hit Rod's anywhere.
No, Rod's okay. He was over here worried about you. The landing was good. The bounce is where the problem came in. You landed, it looked good, and then you took a real weird bounce that we've been talking about all night long, and it went over to the left front, and that's what tore the whole front suspension out from underneath the truck.
Well, I didn't know what happened. I knew something had happened major because the truck had started into a roll, and it hadn't been doing it when it takes that kind of landing, so I knew something had to broke.
We're going to let you. They're going to put you right back to work. Gary Cook got a bunch of guys. They're going to try to get the truck fixed. We're glad you're okay. We'll see you on the tour later on.
Okay, thanks.
David Morris remarkably composed, and wow, look at the damage done to the Equalizer truck. It won't be back tonight. He gets the win, but David Morris is out of the competition for this evening. So officially he wins the race, but since he can't come back, it'll be USA 1 and Rod Litzow moving to the semifinals.
Well, like you say, the replay shows he won it free and clear, but one of the most concerned people on that track was Rod Litzow. Now, Rod flipped the truck 4 or 5 times already this year. He was very concerned about Dave. Once he found out he was okay, he took the USA 1 and went back in the pit area. Like you said, yes, we will see USA 1 later on in competition.
Style. We are about to see the superstars of monster truck racing on the track, and one superstar we are waiting to find out if he's going to be here tonight is the #1 points leader in the national standings, David Morris and the Equalizer, Army.
Well, David Morris and his owner, builder of the truck, Gary Cook, have been thrashing feverishly to get the truck back together after last week's violent flip. He was running USA 1 when right at the finish line, he nosed him out, but what happened right after that could make history. A little bit of a short bounce, just about a foot from the finish line, and what happened had the people in Richmond, Virginia standing and holding their breath for just a few minutes, Richard.
Now, almost unbelievably, David almost took it over on the driver's side, but how did he compensate to get it over?
What happened, the left spindle broke, and that caused what they called a high side. It made the truck bounce over, so the impact actually took place on the passenger side of the truck. As the truck stopped, he's unbuckling and immediately steps right out of the truck. The TNT crew was right there, but believe me, that was a violent accident, Richard Lee.
But unbelievably, the driver, David Morris, a little shaken up, but otherwise okay, and this has been the scene. David Morris, the driver, and Gary Cook, the owner-designer, working feverishly on the Equalizer truck. We talked to the owner, Gary Cook, to describe what he and driver David Morris had to repair on the Equalizer.
We broke the axle and spindle off the left-hand side, the steering knuckle on the right-hand side, the tie rod, the steering cylinders, the shocks.
Other than that, though, the truck's fine, right?
Yeah, other than the body work. We're going to try to get it running tonight, though. We don't ever give up.
Well, they did not give up because we have got great news. The Equalizer is ready to rock and roll. They will be racing tonight. Staging at the starting line next is John Breen, driver of Mad Dog, the Chevrolet, a real veteran of monster truck racing, 7 years in a truck. And look who he is racing. Quite a story. It's Dangerous David Morris, the Equalizer driver, the rookie, the current national points leader, and he is racing despite the violent crash he went through a week ago, Army.
Well, Richard, they always say you got to get a hair of the dog that bit you. In this case, it's a bad dog that the Equalizer's trying to put away. And this kid has not lost a thing. He is back and attacking the track. It's good to see it. David Morris is alive and well and strong in monster truck racing.
And, you know, we talked to David earlier today about what it was going to be like getting back into the monster truck after going through a violent crash like he did.
I made my qualifying pass, checked everything out. I think the truck's working just as well as it was before it was rolled, so I'm going to just run it as best I can.
Dave, are you a little bit nervous getting back in the truck? It was an awfully violent flip you went through. I know you thrashed on it, but you had to buckle in the seat. First time, what went through your mind when you got back in the truck?
Well, really the first thing that went back in my mind was just taking a landing and being sure that I'm on the throttle in case I'm up on the front wheels or whatever happens. But I feel like last night it was just a failure in equipment. I think a tie rod broke, let one of my front wheels go back around and ripped it off the truck, and then it just sent it into a roll.
Gary Cook put you back in a good truck. Can you win this thing tonight?
I think I can.
Well, 2 high-tech trucks are waiting for, I guess we might say, liftoff.
Boy, liftoff they do, but look at the kid in the Equalizer. Oh, that finish line set of cars is really getting spooky, but David Morris, you would not know what he's been through, Richard. That kid is right back where he was, driving so aggressive, he's going to move to the next round.
It's Carolina Crusher, Gary Porter, #2 in the point standing, up against Dangerous David Morris, the Equalizer, #1 in the point standing.
Richard, this could be a run that could determine the national championship. The reason being, Porter has to put this kid away. You've got to start getting the Equalizer out of the points program early in the races. And if Porter's going to do it, he's got to do it right now. Trying to pull in on the national championship. Look at this.
Great race, but it's got to be Gary Porter with the win. Porter with the win, and Carolina Carolina Crusher. So finally, the Cinderella story for David Morris and the Equalizer comes to an end as we...
So next, it's going to be David Morris out of Springfield, Tennessee, and the Equalizer. He'll take on in the near side lane, Nightlife, driven by Dave Weisort out of Grand Island, Nebraska.
Boy, Weisort's got his work cut out for him here, Stan. Equalizer's a fast truck. He's got a lot of suspension that works good, and he's going to take an easy win here. He doesn't clear all them cars. He's holding that equipment for the final race.
Good win. That's why he's number 2 in national points.
Of course, let's take a look at Equalizer's run here. Now, he can see Weisort from his driver's side window, so he knows where he's at, and he can see that he's pretty much caught up with him. But as soon as he hits the ground, his suspension's working, and he can hit the pedal and just take off, and it takes a nice, easy win.
David, the track looks pretty rough. Tell us about it.
Yeah, this track, you got one lane that you might call a good lane, and the other lane, I think it's actually better than the one I call the good side, but you got a real tight quarters racing down in between those guardrails, so it's going to be a tough race.
Now, Equalizer had a faster qualifying time than Stomper did, so he's going to have lane choice here, and that's going to be very good for him.
Well, he indeed is going to be in the far lane. He'll take on Marvin Smith in Stomper, and he qualified 7th. He's out of Arnold, Missouri.
Of course, here he's going to be in that narrow lane, and that's going to be a disadvantage for him. Not only that, he's a little under horsepower compared to that Equalizer, and it shows right there. Look at Equalizer when he hits that ground. There's just no bounce at all, and he's got a lot of control over that vehicle, and to take a great win over Stomper.
Well, Equalizer, he ran very straight. Stomper had the problems right here after the second jump.
That's right. After the first set of cars at the end, everybody's having their problems. They do a little bounce in there, and they got to let off the gas because they don't want to hit that guardrail. And here where it shows where Equalizer just takes off away from Stomper and leaves them in the dust.
A1, Rod Litzow taking a moment to perhaps back up a little, Rich.
Yeah, and he's going to get lined up straight. Now, he's going up against Equalizer in this round. Now, Litzow's got his lane that he wants. He's got a lot of room. But I'll tell you what, he's still going to be a little intimidated by Equalizer here. Dave Morris, he's got a good run. So far, he's been doing great. And Litzow's going to have to do everything he can to take this win.
Certainly is. So we're set, ready to go, waiting for the green light.
There it is. And I'll tell you what here, it looks like Litzow got a little bit of a hole shot on Equalizer, but Litzow got a little bit crooked after that first set of cars.
Look at
Equalizer
that.
just clears the whole last set. He blows Litzow away.
Unbelievable. As a matter of fact, Rich, that was a fast run for Equalizer, an 8.36.
And of course, and look at the lane it was in, the lane that nobody has won in tonight except for Thunder Chicken because Bigfoot broke. And Mike Goss is with Dave Morris with Equalizer.
David, the word in the pits before the semifinals was a lot of people close to racing said you could not win out of that lane, but you proved them wrong.
Yeah, I watched a few of the trucks in the first heat races there, and if you hang over toward the left side of that track, it's just, the cars are getting mashed off to that side, and that way it throws you right into the guardrail. So what I tried to do that time was just run right on the roofs and let my tire hang off the edge of the hood of them, so it worked fine.
About the finals.
Well, thanks, Stan. Carolina Crusher and Equalizer shocked everybody by winning out of this near lane, puts them both in the finals. I just talked to David Morris, who has lane choice. He's going to stay in this near lane. He thinks he's figured it out. Plus, he thinks the far lane is shooting the trucks too far up in the air. Let's find out who's going to win it.
Well, the battle's ready to go. Equalizer, David Morris, he's going to stay in that near side lane. He's done real well. And Gary Porter in the far side lane, putting the kill switch in the Carolina Crusher.
And of course, what Morris talked about in that far lane, it might be a little bit wider, but the ramps are a little bit steeper, and they're getting more air, so they're losing time. And here, Equalizer's got a little bit of a jump on Porter. It's real close at the finish. It looks like Equalizer wins it.
Another close win, but we have Equalizer the champ of this one.
Boy, he's got that inside lane figured out. Just watch his truck run. It's pretty much state-of-the-art right now in monster truck racing. This guy gets on the ground, his tires must be made of Velcro because it doesn't bounce at all, and he's got enough horsepower to just clear that last set of cars and take a nice win.
All right, well, let's go down trackside and talk with the winner.
Well, the Equalizer knocks off Carolina Crusher here at Lebanon Valley Speedway. Now, Gary, tell us about the run.
Well, it wasn't the way I wanted it to go. He beat me. You know, I thought I had a good run in the right lane to come off the first set of cars real good, and I don't know if it just had me outmotored or what, but I got to go home and do some more homework so I can come back and take a win some other day.
All right, good luck to you.
Thank you.
David Morris is your winner. Now, David, heard a little sputtering maybe on the starting line. Gary definitely got a hole shot on you.
Yes, he did. I was awful late coming off that second set of cars. When I landed, I was in the gas hard. I've been having trouble with it all night. It wants to splutter out. I don't know if it's fuel too rich, flooding or what, but I thought there was for a minute I wasn't going to be able to catch him.
You guys have developed quite a rivalry, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
So, congratulations once again to our winner. For Rich Hooser, Mike Goss, I'm Stan Rhodes. So it will be no problem, driven by John Moore up against Dave Morris, an Equalizer. This will be a good run to watch.
I tell you what, John Moore, he's not intimidated by Equalizer with all that horsepower and that fancy truck. He's going to do what it takes to come and try to beat this guy. Now, look at this, no problem, just stay right up with him.
John did a great job, but I'll tell you, Dave Morris has got that truck going.
Oh, he does. Look at how much air he's getting right here. Now, no problem, kind of stays up with him, but he doesn't quite get it enough.
Well, we'll find out if he can, because he'll be facing one of those, and that is Equalizer, driven by Dave Morris. He's got a very fast truck. He's out of Springfield, Tennessee, and he'll be taking on Dennis Anderson in that awesome truck called Gravedigger.
And, of course, let's remind you guys once again here, Gravedigger's only running in two-wheel drive, so he's going to have to take it real easy. Coming off that starting line, if you don't have four-wheel drive, it's going to hurt you right off the bat.
And there's the green.
Of course, Equalizer gets a little bit of jump on Anderson since he didn't have four-wheel drive, and he's just going to blow him away here because Anderson, he's not even going to be able to finish the run.
Unbelievable win for Equalizer, flying all the way over those cars.
And he didn't have to run it very hard, but this guy likes to run it hard, and he wants to know that track because he's going to come up and try to get in the finals.
David, Gravedigger was handicapped, but you don't let up against that guy, do you?
Well, I was over there working on my truck. I didn't know if he was handicapped or not. I knew he had drive shaft problems, but like I said, I didn't know if he got his truck all straightened out, so I knew running against that guy that I had to run hard, so that's what I did.
All right, you've got Awesome Kong in the semifinals, and he just told me he didn't think you'd have a problem with you. He wants you bad tonight.
Well, he's going to get me.
Awesome Kong, there you see Steve King, the Flying Texan, putting in that kill switch.
Of course, them kill switchers are very important, especially when you get down to the semifinals and the finals, because these guys are going to be flying.
And they're waiting for the green.
Okay, this is going to be a good race. It's going to be fast. Awesome Kong and Equalizer. Equalizer's got a little bit of lead on him. He gets a bounce there. That's not like him. Oh, it's close, Sam, but I believe Equalizer wins it.
Unbelievable. He had problems after that first jump.
Yeah, but he corrected him real quick. That's where his suspension is really working. Now, right there, he's bounced more than he has all night. Got a little bit sideways, but as soon as he got straight, he nailed it, flew across that last set, and beat him by about a half a truck length.
David, Awesome Kong was fast qualifier. He pushed you to a lane you hadn't been running in, and that put him in a lane he hasn't been running in. Looked like a psych job on you.
Yeah, I think he made a mistake by doing that, though, because he's been running good over here all night long, so I think he should have really stayed with the lane that he's been running with, because I think he'd have been more familiar with it. I've been running with both sides, so it really didn't make any difference to me.
Last year it was USA 1 and Bigfoot in a lot of the finals, but this year we've got new blood, like Equalizer and Carolina Crusher, the top two trucks in the points at this point of the season. Carolina Crusher has lane choice, but Equalizer has already proven he can win out of either lane.
Okay, Carolina Crusher's going to take the right-hand lane, which is a lot wider than the left-hand lane where Equalizer's going to be at because of them guardrails, only but a couple feet away from them cars.
So, Gary Porter is putting in the kill switch. He's out of Waitsboro, North Carolina. Going to try to put it all the way down with that Carolina Crusher. He's going to take on Dave Morris. He's putting in his kill switch as well, driving the Equalizer.
Of course, them kill switches are very important in this final run. These guys are going to do whatever it takes to win, and these guys both deserve to be in this finals. They've worked hard through this whole mini-series to get here, and they're doing a great job. Now, one thing about this race, now, lane choice means a lot, but I tell you what, after that first set of cars, and to get lined up for that second set of cars, there's where the race could be won or lost. Well, let's find out. Of course, Equalizer and Carolina Crusher side by side. Oh, Equalizer a little bit crooked after that first set. Looks like Porter's going to beat him.
Absolutely. You were right about that first set of cars. Carolina Crusher got that win.
Let's take a look here. As you can see, Carolina Crusher's lined up. He's on the ground. He has no problem hitting that second set. Now, Equalizer got a little bit crooked. Let's get real close here at the finish line. You can see how close it really is.
Very close. Good win for Gary Porter.
Well, motorsports fans, this is the new blood we discussed earlier in monster truck racing, and the win goes to Gary Porter with Carolina Crusher. But first, David, you really got out of shape after that first set of cars.
Yeah, that's the worst run I've made all night long. I've come over the second set,
I took a bad hop in there somewhere and got crossways of the track, and that cost me a race.
On the TNT Monster Truck Challenge at Nashville Motor Raceway. As you've seen, it's already been a wild first round, and we're not through the first round of competition yet. We've got more great action coming up. The next matchup sends Yosemite Sam and Chuck Clore out of Newland, North Carolina, up against the home state favorite, David Morris from Springfield, Tennessee, in the Equalizer. It was a year ago at this very race that David Morris and Mrs. David Morris were on their first date. He decided to get into the sport. Here's Chris Chapman with both of them.
Nancy, the Nashville Motor Speedway holds a very special place in your heart for several reasons. It was the first place that you met David, and it was your first monster truck pull. Tell me how all that got started.
Well, David called me and asked me if I'd like to come over here to the monster truck race. So it was our first date over here, and at the race he informed me that he was going to start driving a monster truck, and it was kind of hard to believe the grasp at the time. And about 2 months later, he started driving a monster truck.
Nancy, danger and monster truck racing sort of go hand in hand. Let's use Richmond, Virginia, for example. Now, David had a bad flip there. What was going through your mind at that time?
I'm very nervous when he races. I'm just concerned for his safety. I know they have all the safety equipment, but you're still concerned about the person that you love.
Let's talk with David about that, Nancy. Do you all discuss that?
Yes, I try to tell her before a race or any time we talk about it, not to think of any negative thoughts or anything like that, just have all positive. So we'll do our best.
What kind of interaction do you have with David on that?
Well, I come back and forth in between races to make sure he's okay, and I always tell him before the race to be careful.
We'll see how careful the Equalizer is going to be right here. We now kind of know a little better the story behind why this race means so much to him. Army, let's see how he does here in his first matchup as he takes on Yosemite Sam.
Well, remember in qualifying, he had some problems. He qualified way down in the field. Normally qualifies the top 2 or 3, qualified 10th. He's not on the track that he likes. Look at Yosemite Sam. He's giving him a good race. Morris is going to come back at the end, and he does. He just barely pulled that out.
Well, luckily for Equalizer, David Morris had the necessary power to literally fly over that last set of cars, and he comes away with the victory. So we'll be seeing a lot more of the Equalizer tonight as David Morris trying to put on a good show in front of his wife and all of his fans here at the Nashville Motor Raceway. I love this next matchup in the quarterfinals. The Equalizer, David Morris, the hometown guy, against the Gravedigger, the very popular truck from Chesapeake, Virginia. Digger comes back as the fast loser.
You got to remember one thing. 1 year ago tonight, David Morris had never driven a monster truck. He was sitting in a grandstand at this event. Now he's a national point leader. And another thing, you are not going to see a straight run here. Both these guys are going to have their hands full, and all they're trying to do is get lined up for the final jump. The Gravedigger went over first, but I believe we might have ground for disqualification. I don't know if he hit the car square or not, Scott.
Army's going to get over there and talk to Dennis Anderson right now. You can see the tire cut down on the Gravedigger. Let's take a look at the run. Here comes Digger to the second set of cars, and look right there. He does not get both wheels up. He is not going to make it. It's a disqualification on the Gravedigger. Nashville's favorites has been dispatched, that being John Moore, eliminated by King Crunch and Scott Stevens. The other hometown guy will take on a fella, as Chris Chapman noted a moment ago, from a long way away. Phoenix, Arizona's Pablo Cruz is tough enough against David Morris and the Equalizer from Springfield, Tennessee.
Well, Morris is established. He's got his truck working good for him. The engine combination, everything's fine. Pablo Cruz, the other hand, a new truck combination, that may cost him. As Morris is going to rely. Oh, look at Cruz trying to work the outside. Morris is coming back on it. Scott, I can't tell.
Wow, what a race between David Morris and Equalizer. Pablo Cruz and tough enough, and by a fraction, the win's going to go to David Morris and the Equalizer. Barely nosing him out, but one of the Tennessee guys is in the finals, and it'll be David Morris.
You're going to hear an interesting story right now. 1 year ago tonight, this man had never seen a monster truck race. He and his fiance bought a ticket and were sitting in that grandstand out there. He said, someday I'm going to own a monster truck. Well, he doesn't own one, but he drives one. He's currently number 2 in the national points chase. If there was ever a Cinderella story in this sports, son, it's got to be you. What's going through your mind right now?
Well, really, what's going through my mind right now is getting my tire aired back up. I knocked the air out of my rear tire when I landed on the pavement, so I got to get the tire patched up, and hopefully I can come back in the finals and do good.
Now it's time to get to the Monster Mash, the finale. King Crunch, Scott Stevens, got all the way up into competition out of Texas, Woodlands, Texas, and he's going up against the hometown favorite, David Morris in the Equalizer from Springfield, Tennessee.
Well, there's no question who these 14,000-plus fans are going to be pulling for. They're going to be pulling for Morris, but believe me, Scott Stevens and King Crunch is going after this win. Like I say, he didn't come all the way from Texas just to finish second. A two-team final, Texas versus Tennessee. They're both Chevrolets in the Texas Chevrolet. Look at Stevens. He's getting quicker and quicker and quicker. That's his first win of the year, Scott.
Last week, Army told us that he thought if there was a guy going to shake these points up, it could be King Crunch. All right, after the competition, King Crunch wins it. Equalizer back on top in the points. Carolina Crusher, USA 1, the Gravedigger, and Nightlife holding on those spots in the top 5. There's Nancy Morris, the wife of David Morris, who we talked quite a bit with last week. She's getting ready to watch the Gravedigger in action because he faces off with her husband, David Morris, in the Equalizer.
Well, Nancy's showing us how intense this sport is. You come to win. It's not for grins and giggles. They're going for the national championship. Husband doing the driving on the far side. You know the story. This time last year, they were sitting in the grandstands on their first date. Now, she's married to the gentleman and sitting in the red truck on the far side. He goes up against one of the baddest of the band, the Gravedigger. And the Gravedigger leads. Equalizer, some kind of problem, Scott.
Equalizer has not left the starting line. Dennis Anderson's Gravedigger is going to get an easy win here. Dennis will cross the finish line. He did touch all the cars properly, and the victory goes to Dennis Anderson. As you get a look at an anguished Nancy Morris, David now, he's rolling backwards. He still has not tried to run the course.
I don't know. Now, it's going to be to his advantage to go ahead and to make a run. The reason being, they can bring a loser back in the next round. If there's any way possible, if he just has to drive over, he's going to do it. That means points, and points is what this game is all about. I'm sorry for his wife. That's a tough break right there.
No, and he's not afraid of anybody in this sport. When you go up against Breen, you better be ready to go. Speaking of ready to go, it's like a Tennessee State coming out right now.
The Tennessee State representative both ways. The Chevrolet of the national point leader, Equalizer, against the no-problem Ford Bronco. Out of the chute, Equalizer with the edge. David Morris hits the second set. He's going to beat John Moore and no problem.
Stop that left lane, giving him a lot of problems. Where bounces, they can't stop either.
Equalizer wins it. Army's going to catch up with David Morris.
Just a minute ago, we interviewed the man you're going to be going against, the driver of the Wild Hare. We asked him if he had a preference as to who he wanted to run. He wants you. He wants to knock you out of this national points chase in this next round, and he's got you. What are you going to do with him?
I'm going to beat him. I don't think he'll ever beat me. I'm a little bit leery running on this other side of the track now. There's something in the last set of cars that's kicking everybody's back end, trying to make it past the front end, so I'm going to run hard, though.
Well, you really see it on that replay from the end of the track, the bounce at the end of the run for David Morris, but he goes on to the next round. All right, David Morris brings out the Equalizer against Bob Breed's Wild Hare. Breed wanted him, Breed's got him.
Breed wanted him, Breed's got him, but Morris did not want anything to do with that left lane. In an earlier interview, he said that left lane was going to give people problems. He goes over to the right and pays dividends. He'll be going to the next round. Meanwhile, Breen had the bad lane and had all kind of problems with it. He will not be back.
Of all the guys who have gotten good speed on this track, he was able to stay lower than most, and that could be critical later on.
Yeah, staying low means you get back on the cars, you can put the horsepower back on the track, but you can see both drivers are really taking a beating. I don't know why this track is so tough tonight.
So the victory to Equalizer, he'll beat Carolina Crusher in the semifinal round. But he'll not be in the final. One of these two trucks will. Carolina Crusher and Equalizer. Not only will one of them go to the final, one of them's going to take a big step in the points battle. Because coming into this race, Equalizer leads Carolina Crusher. Last week, Crusher had the lead, but was upset here by Dave Wysoric and Nightlife. That cost Carolina Crusher the national point lead. Coming into tonight, David Morris and Equalizer is on top. He'll need to beat Crusher here. We told David Morris that Carolina Crusher wants it badly.
Yeah, he'd like to beat me bad here, but I'm going to do everything I can to keep him out of it, so I'm going to be running hard.
Simply put, by the soft-spoken fella from Tennessee, he likes to let his stuff on the track do his talking.
Scott, I'm looking for a war right here. Number 1 and number 2 international points chase. It's going to be a Donnybrook. There it goes. The light turns green. They're all side by side. Morris noses down that right lane. Can the Crusher come back? No way. Boy, this kid out of Tennessee is flying.
And he flat beat him bad. No question about it. Equalizer dominated Crusher on that run. Let's look at it again, Army, coming right at you.
They left side by side, but it seemed like the Equalizer just dominant truck in this round.
Once again, great ground speed, stayed very straight, low to the cars, and David Morris out of Springfield, Tennessee, and the Equalizer comes away with the victory. Equalizer owner Gary Cook taking a long, hard look at his truck right now. Army Armstrong's working his way over to get a word from Cook to see exactly what the status of the Equalizer is.
Gary Cook, you have any idea what the problem is? The word we get is you may not be in that final.
Well, I think it's such a fast track. I think we overwhelmed the motor and probably either bent a valve or dropped a valve. You know, this track is real fast, and we may have just geared a little bit too low for this particular track.
If you did, in fact, bend a valve or break a valve, are you going to bring it back and try to go for the points?
We'll just about have to.
Once again, USA 1 and Equalizer. USA 1 got a big shot.
No race at all. The Equalizer came to the line just for the point. Gary Cook told us a moment ago they had hurt the engine. Tough break for the Equalizer, but he will get points for making that round.
USA 1 does it again, make it 2 for 2 in Kalamazoo. Rod Litzow, USA 1, getting the victory in Kalamazoo, Michigan, as he continues to try and come from behind and pull off a second straight national championship on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. But David Morris, an Equalizer, by making the run, will pick up the valuable points and no doubt stay in front in the national point chase. It's been a great tough track edition in Kalamazoo.
Your final first round of action. Dangerous David Morris, the Equalizer, had a violent flip in Richmond, Virginia earlier this year. He's in the Chevrolet out of Springfield, Tennessee. He is the kid that is known as being calm, cool, and collected. And John Kwasniewski, Johnny K is what you call him. He's the Buffalo Thriller driver out of Lackawanna, New York. Keep your eye on this kid because he is very intense, and he's been coming on strong as of late.
You know, talking about personalities, Morris, like you say, easy going, laid back. Johnny K, he's like a rock and roller, man. He wants to come out here in a heartbeat, leave the starting line, trying to keep up with the Equalizer. Not going to do it. Look at it now. Johnny K trying to come back. Richard, it looks close. He's in trouble. I can't tell from my viewpoint.
John Kwasniewski had a great run going in the Buffalo Thriller until midway down the track. He got a little bit out of shape. That is all David Morris needed to get the win in the Equalizer.
This track, I think, is really a course that you can't use every bit of your power at one time on it. I think it's more of a driving course than it is a speed course. I don't know how long the truck will hold up out here on this track running fast speeds. It's a pretty tough track.
It is a tough track.
Yes, it's pretty tough.
Talking about Super Dave Weisurt's nightlife, the guy that races with his head hanging out the window against dangerous David Morris in the Equalizer out of Springfield, Tennessee. An important race for David because he's currently number 1 in the point standing.
He can definitely help his point case, but what I'm watching is a 3-obstacle course. Now, he clears the first obstacle, no problem. If he can get off the second, which he just did straight, he's in good shape. The middle jump, or the first set of cars, is where they're all having problems, but everybody is backpedaling at the finish line, Richard. They don't want to get that much ground speed, it looks like to me.
And I'm surprised how easily David Morris in the Equalizer just knocked off the nightlife to move to the semifinals.
Right now, we got a pressure-packed situation. This is the status. The top 3 trucks in the national championship are still in the running. There are only 4 trucks left. Mad Dog, John Breen says he can be the spoiler here, but that puts the pressure on the rest of you guys because you lose, it's going to hurt no matter what happens.
Yeah, any top truck right now that lose, it's going to really put the hurt on them because we're all so close together, and it's going to be tough racing out here.
So 3 of the top 4 trucks in America have made it to the semifinals. That action is straight ahead on ESPN. On his side at the finish line. Now let's find out who Litzow is going to face in the championship. There's the intensity of John Breen and the Mad Dog, and there's the calmness of the dangerous David Morris Equalizer machine. The winner now, remember, goes to the finals.
John Breen is very important to this sport right now. The reason being, how hard is he going to push the Equalizer? Breen knows that he can be a player for the national championship. 3 of the top 4 trucks in the country made the final 4. Breen can be the scorer. He's going to try to make the Equalizer work awfully hard if he's going to win. And he's not giving him anything. Look at this, Richard Leake. He's pushing him to the limit.
That is going to be the Equalizer. David Morris getting the win.
Weird sound on that run, Richard.
problems again for the Equalizer. We'll have to find out. On the replay, it was pretty even until midway down the track.
Watch the driver go out, hit the throttle, and back on it. He's actually decelerating when everybody else is accelerating.
So that sets up our championship, and it's what everyone wanted. The defending national titleist, Rod Litzau, USA 1, damaged it all, taking on the current #1 truck in America, the Equalizer, David Morris. You might want to mention at this time that Gary Cook, a former truck and tractor puller, is the owner and builder of this Equalizer machine, and he is getting rave reviews on his design.
He's also getting a lot of people building trucks just like his. One of the very important parts of this truck that we're going to do a feature on in the future is the seat. I believe that the driver's seat is a very important part of the truck. We'll explain it at a later time. Right now, business at hand. Who's going to win on the world famous Milwaukee Mile? They lead side by side. Morris has to come out first. He does what he has to do, but look at the awesome USA 1, Richard.
Remember I said earlier in the show it didn't look like anybody could touch Rowdy Rod Litzau in USA 1 tonight. That is exactly what has happened, as Rod has now gotten his third victory in a row. This time, the win over the Equalizer.
Quarterfinals, he's going to be joined by one of these two guys, either David Morris, your current national points leader, driving the Equalizer Chevrolet. He's out of Springfield, Tennessee, or the guy already on the starting line, Bennett Clark, Clydesdale, Powder Springs, Georgia. Bennett is the athlete that's pretty well done it all. He's involved in hunting, basketball, track, junior Olympics, rodeo, bull riding, monster. There's not much he hasn't done.
And on his spare time, he drives monster trucks.
Yeah.
What you can look over here, Richard, is watch Equalizer. He'll go out. He will not really wing the engine. He goes out. He'll back on the throttle again, off, on, off. He just got an area that truck's working, and it's good enough to win. Meanwhile, the Clydesdale was coming after him, but the Equalizer moves to that next round.
Let's see who's going to join him. That is sitting on the inside, the Equalizer of dangerous David Morris. On the outside, Mopar Magic Gary Wiggins. And I'm going to say it right now, no contest here.
I don't know what's going to happen here. Equalizer can only go so far. You notice he jumps out. Now, he'll hold his engine at a certain RPM. He will not be able to really go upstairs with it. However, the far out that he is far enough to win. The Dodge could come back on him. He's not going to do it. The Equalizer is still not 100%, Richard, but he's still alive. He's still chasing these points.
And he is again in the semifinals. And that's who we've got. Crusher from Carolina, King Crunch, no problem Equalizer. All the action straight ahead on ESPN. John Moore wants to do right now. He has yet to get into a championship this year. This is one opportunity he's got, but he's got to knock off David Morris and the Equalizer to get to the championship.
I don't know what to tell you right now other than John Moore's been pulling upsets all day long. He could be a player. Again, Equalizer out just far enough to hang on to the win. Now, watch it. He won't hurt the engine. He's backpedaling right now. Yeah, it's amazing. He's just going out far enough. He'll run the engine to 8,000 and then back on the throttle right there.
What happened to John Moore?
I don't have any idea. He just wasn't the run for it. Man. Final round coming up. Look at the national points. The cream always comes to the top. That's where we are right now. Carolina Crusher going against the Equalizer, Richard.
David Morris, currently #1 in the point standings. Gary Porter, currently #2. They're both Chevrolets, and the crowd is ready for this. You can't get any better than having #1 against #2.
But neither truck is operating at 100%. We told you the story about the Equalizer. He goes out, hangs it there. Crusher trying to come back on him. Porter's out of shape, has the back pedal. The Equalizer, and he's having problems too, Richard. Oh, man, the wall is not safe at all this afternoon. Equalizer almost got into the wall at the end.
Now you see why we call him Dangerous David Morris. And in a replay of that championship race, very close until midway down the track, then the Equalizer shows his power, but right there at the end, he gets out of shape and goes into the wall. But David Morris gets the championship win.
An awfully wild ride. We noticed right at the end, you didn't have any steering on that truck, is what it looked like to us.
I had no steering at all. I went from the first set of cars all the way to the second set and down here with no steering, and I was having to fight hard.
Monster truck racing, but I'll tell you, when you talk about people to be afraid of this year, this has been the man who has put more of them on the trailer than anybody else. Your world points leader, the Equalizer, and David Morris.
Well, David Morris, in the opening of the show, made a statement we're going to be watching. The statement was, I don't believe it's a horsepower track. It's going to be a driver's track. Now, we're going to find out just how good a driver this young man is as he's going up against a Thunder Chick. And remember, he's a rookie driver.
Thunder Chicken running him tough over the first set of cars, Scott.
Kid Rarig and the Thunder Chicken giving Equalizer all he wants, but give the win to David Morris. The Equalizer puts Thunder Chicken on the trailer. If Equalizer can beat Clydesdale in the next round, he may end up against Carolina Crusher in the semifinals.
You and the Carolina Crusher in the same part of the bracket. Somebody's going to either jump out or pull in on these points leads tonight. Who's it going to be?
It needs to be me. I'd like to take these points this year. I'm going to run hard. I'll have to run hard to beat him with his new motor.
Okay, we noticed you had a little bit of problem on that run in the shutdown area. Anything major?
Yeah, I lost the steering. I threw a power steering belt off, and if I can get that repaired, I'll be back.
You know Gary Pointer said he's going to come and hammer you hard tonight. He wants you bad.
Well, he'll get me tonight.
This is the man he really wants. You may see him later. David Morris, the Equalizer, the leader for the World Championship in points. But Bennett Clark, Clydesdale, very confident. You talked with him earlier, Army. He thinks these are his kind of conditions.
He definitely believes that. The long wheelbase, he says, to his advantage. He is looking forward to getting hold of the Equalizer. And I guarantee you, the biggest fan right now for Clydesdale is going to be Gary Porter. This kid can really help the Carolina Crusher if he puts away the Equalizer in this run. However, on the other side of the track, the kid out of the volunteer state just believes in himself, drives his own race. Let's see what's going to happen.
Coming out of the gate, Equalizer normally smooth, he's smooth again, and he wins it impressively. David Morris and the Equalizer, well, that's a perfect example. You see problems for the Clydesdale, but that race is a perfect example of why David Morris is your leader for the World Championship in points. Consistent, solid, strong, smooth. He's got it all, and he got a win over Clydesdale.
Well, it looks like we got a dream race coming up next. You said earlier you kind of want to get a hold of Porter. He's going to be sitting right next to you in that next round.
Yeah, he's going to be tough. The track's getting slicker as the night goes on, so it's going to be a good race. I'm going to run hard as I can.
Last week, a Monster Smash Finals here on Tough Tracks in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, had the Equalizer and Carolina Crusher going head-to-head. And you know, for the most part, over the last month or two, Equalizers had the better of it, Army.
That's the reason they stepped up on the horsepower of the Carolina Crusher on this run. Equalizer lost his steering, but held on for the win. Look at that, the last half of the race, no steering at all. That kid has got what it takes to be a monster truck champion.
Well, right now, he hopes to do it again, but this is not the final this time, so the winner here really is going to pick up a big advantage. He's not only going to get this victory, then he'll have a chance to go on and try and win the Monster Smash Final in just a few moments. Now, it's obvious as we come in that Carolina Crusher doesn't look real good. He's kind of puffing.
A little blue smoke coming out of the engine. That could just be from the jetting. He's coming out of the back of the truck, indicates he had a heating problem on the vehicle. Equalizer. He goes through, but something fell off the bottom of that truck. He's trying to shut it down on the big end. Whoa, all safe in Fisherville for now.
That was just wild. There's blue smoke coming from Crusher. Then, as you mentioned, Army, something fell off the Equalizer, and now he's smoking. Couldn't stop. Carolina Crusher's got it in reverse, backing to get to the pit area.
That's an indication he's got some kind of drivetrain problem. He's not able to go forward. He's got to back out. What's a tough break for that kid, but it's a good break for that kid right there.
But he's calling for a hook, too. Equalizer, obviously, with a problem, as he will need some help to get off the track. Let's find out from David Morris just what the problem is.
7.79 seconds. Well, David Morris, realistically, that run right there could have won you the national championship.
Yeah, I needed that win bad, and I was ready to do anything to get it. Got a little squirrely down here. Had to get a whole lot of RPM on the engine that time. I slung another power steering belt also.
Is that where the smoke's coming from?
No, I set the line so long that my motor got hot on me, so I'm going to let it cool down and everything be ready to go.
Yes, indeed, the engine is fired, and Equalizer will make it to race against Nightlight. It is the Monster Smash, the Equalizer, the Nightlight, the final coming up from Fishersville, Virginia, here on Tough Tracks. Equalizer and Nightlight pull the starting line for the Monster Smash Final. It's showtime!
Two young guns going head-to-head. They go for the first jump side by side. Equalizer starts to pull out a little bit. I believe the Equalizer, Scott.
gets the win, and it looked like less than a wheel's length. We're going to go to the timing tape and see if we can see just how close in a still frame that race really was. At the finish line, David Morris in the Equalizer. Boy, that's a great seat for it. You can see by just the length of a wheel, David Morris in the Equalizer may very well have locked up the World Championship. Army Armstrong's with your winner, David Morris, the Equalizer.
Well, David Morris with the Equalizer. You're stretching that national point lead out. An 8-second run in the final. Looked awfully good.
Well, it didn't feel as good as some of the earlier runs. I had trouble getting to the line at the time. I had a cylinder that was foul, the plug was foul, and I got a little squirrely, got a little sliding in the middle of the cars, but I just did get back on it hard enough to pull the wind out.
How about this kid with the nightlife truck? You can't roll over on him. He's going to come after you every time, isn't he?
That's right. He'll be there.
What about the points chase? You know, we've been talking about it. You've been chasing all year long. It's been up and down. We're down to the final events of the year. This is it. Your rookie year, you are the national points leader. What's going through your mind right now? Can you bump these big guys off, these veterans?
Yeah, I can. It's going to be all on whether I can keep the truck going. We can keep it all together working fine, and I can keep doing a good job of driving. If I can do that and the truck runs great, we'll take it.
It was all done within the rules, but it's something John Moore was very unhappy about because it's such a rare occurrence. Let's see how he does right now. He's going out against the Equalizer, your current leader for the World Championship points, and Equalizer has got the victory. David Morris, Springfield, Tennessee, does it again, put another win in the column for Equalizer in what he hopes is a march toward the World Championship of Monster Truck Racing. Expert panel does as Buffalo Tremor gets ready to go up against the Equalizer. Army Buffalo Tremors look great all day, but he's going against the baddest of the bad right now. The leader on the World Championship points chase, David Morris and the Equalizer.
You know, Scott, after doing interviews with Johnny Cage, this could definitely be the day for him. He's got a lot of confidence. He believes in the truck. He's not worried about the Equalizer. He's going to drive his race, and he definitely believes he can win it. The starting line is going to be the trick. He leads with the Equalizer. Look at this. Half track. It's still close. Hey, Scott, look at this. Johnny Cage going to the finals.
A tremendous upset. The Buffalo Tremor has beaten the season points leader, the Equalizer. What a win for John Kwasniewski. Point leader. We'll see him coming out against the Stomper. Marvin Smith out of Arnold, Missouri drives the Stomper against David Morris and the Equalizer. We talked with Marvin Smith a little earlier about 1989. It appears he's going to finish in the top 10 in the season points, but obviously is not a player for the national championship. So the Stomper lines up. The very popular Chevrolet against the national point leader.
Scott, we got a transmission went away on the starting line. Equalizer going to ease it through into the next round.
David Morris got to love this. Doesn't even have to push the truck. You know, once he saw Stomper wasn't with him, he took it easy on that last set of cars. So the Equalizer easily into the second round as the Stomper has problems at the starting line. And unfortunately, in front of a good crowd. And a lot of Chevrolet fans there in Flint, Michigan. A lot of Ford fans as well. But the Chevy fans see the Stomper on the loader and being pulled away.
Hey, you start flipping them like that. That's what it's going to take to win. Speaking of taking the win, Scott, look who's going now.
Here's a guy, as Army would say, taking the win like a duck takes the water. David Morris in the Equalizer, getting the victory and moving into the semifinal round.
Well, David Morris, you're still in this thing. You just ran the same lane that USA 1 went out of. You saw what happened to him. What goes through your mind sitting up there knowing you're going to take that same road in about 30 seconds?
Well, a lot goes through your mind when you see something like that, and then you climb back in the truck. You know you're running in the same lane. You're just wondering, well, what do I need to do different that he didn't do?
It's going to be awesome. And there he is, a young man in his rookie season who is closing in on a possible world championship. David Morris and the Equalizer. His opponent, Dave Wysorek and the Nightlife. And you know, here's a perfect example, Army, of the fact that Wysorek keeps his truck together. He's able to come back.
Yeah, he keeps moving through each round. You may beat him, but you got to use equipment to do it. Morris goes to the next round. Wysorek not going to advance. Dave Wysorek, man, if I was a sponsor, I'd be going after that kid. He's always around at the end.
The Equalizer with the victory is in the championship. He'll be in the Monster Smash here at Flint, Michigan. One more time, David Morris and the Equalizer really just put him away from the beginning. Smash.
88 was great, but 89 is mine.
It's showtime.
Side by side, Flint, Michigan, the final. Gravedigger against Equalizer.
Grave Gravedigger in the second set. Equalizer pulls him. It looks like he got him in the air. They hit the second set together, but Gravedigger couldn't stay with him, and David Morris wins it in the Equalizer. Morris on top again.
Dennis was going to roll over and play dead. We knew he had engine problems. It kind of surprised us on this end that he came out so hard.
It didn't surprise me because he was running too good back in the pits, sound like to me, so I knew he was going to be running hard.
Well, thanks, God. We're standing in a rather cool Flint, Michigan for the final outdoor event of 1989. I say we, the young man standing with me, with the big smile on his face, is your current national points leader and last week's winner, David Morris, driver of the Equalizer. David, that national championship looks like it's getting awfully close to you right now.
Yeah, everything's narrowing down to the end. It's everything's got to be up to snuff from here to these other races are over with. So if I can just keep everything going right, truck's working good, maybe we can come out with this points championship.
The race itself, it came down to you and the Gravedigger, a classic battle, and you came out on top over your old friend Dennis Anderson.
Yeah, Dennis, earlier in the night, he had some engine problems, but they got that all squared away. I knew he was going to be running hard. He wanted to win, and I did too, so I beat him in the end.
But the truck looks to be running well. He's just going to have to be working very hard. Here he is, the rookie trying to win the national championship, the world championship of monster truck racing. We're talking about David Morris and the Equalizer out of Springfield, Tennessee.
Well, the truck's unique, and the suspension on the truck is different from everybody else's. The engine location is different. Remember, this engine is beneath the driver. Behind him, the engine's actually in the middle of everything you're looking at there. Plus, this youngster out of Tennessee, he just has a natural knack for driving the truck. He can actually feel it. He becomes one with the truck. And you notice his qualifying run, he really goes after it. Whoa, speaking of going after it, he's got a lot of problems now, Scott.
You can see it. It just collapsed on him, and over goes the points leader, David Morris and the Equalizer. Look, it's a perfect example of the way it just kind of crumbled under him, Army.
Well, you notice the first thing that happened was the emergency crew on the scene. They pull the kill switch, and he's out. He's upset. The left front spindle seems to be the Achilles tendon of that truck. All year long, the problems have come from the left front of the truck.
Isn't that the same thing that happened in Richmond, Virginia?
Exactly, exactly.
The steering knuckle apparently was the problem there. It just broke, collapsed on him, and indeed he went over on his side, and it appears to have happened again to David Morris. One more time, we'll get a look at it, Army.
Now, you've got to remember, this is a qualifying run by the national points leader. This could be devastating for the national championship because he will get no points, no money, no nothing, just a whole lot of heartache and worry after this run.
We're going to talk to David Morris a little bit later, but first, Army, what a qualifying round. All four of our points leaders are really hurting.
You talk about an interesting story for the national championship. Listen to what I'm going to tell you here. Equalizer, national points leader, just flipped in the last qualifying session of the last outdoor event of the year. Nobody's rolling over. They're going hard. He proved it. We just received word from the owner, Gary Cook. They can't find a piece to replace it. They've been looking for one similar since the Richmond flip. They actually think they may be out for the year.
Speaking of drivers, there's an interesting story to tell about this truck right here, Butch Griggs.
That's right, Army Armstrong. Last week at Flint, Michigan, the Equalizer took a tumble right over on its top as part of the front suspension broke in the machine. Army had a chance to talk a little bit earlier today to the truck's owner and builder, Gary Cook.
Well, Gary, explain the flip that took place to us last week in Flint, Michigan.
Okay, the front axle, when he landed on the cars the last time, the front axle completely snapped in two, the drive axle and the housing.
You flipped the truck twice this year. The left front seemed to be the weak point in both flips. Is it the same thing that happened in Richmond?
Right, our axle is really not stout enough for what we're doing. This TNT Renegade circuit has really been rough on the equipment. Our last of the season, the equipment's really getting fatigued, so to get it back together, we had to order an axle out of Houston, Texas. We didn't have any more spare parts, and the housing, we've welded it up and did a lot more bracing and strapping under it to get it to last out these last 2 point races.
Equalizer's put his front tires over that finish line so many times, more than anybody else in 1989.
Your current point leader on the Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge, David Morris out of Springfield, Tennessee. He comes up against one of the Breen boys, Toys Racing Machine, Bobby Breen and Wild Hair.
Bob Breen, a very interesting individual. We kind of teased him. Now, Bob Breen came to this sport. He used to ride an old Harley motorcycle, so he's used to an old rough ride. He kind of likes the monster trucks. But the other side of the story, the Equalizer, the kid, the sensation out of Tennessee, the kid that may be king. We're going to have to wait and see. Right now, he's looking strong.
So, David Morris and the Equalizer, he will advance to the next round, the quarterfinal round here on the Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge. You know, in these sub-6 second runs, a lot of heat's built up in these engines. Army had a chance to talk to David Morris after this win.
it seems like a real tricky track out there this afternoon.
Yeah, I ain't got the dirt hill figured out yet. I'm either coming over too hard or too slow. You got to catch it just right so you can be good and smooth so you can hit the set of cars and go.
I'll tell you what, I bet David Morris will have it figured out before the final round here this afternoon. Look on the starting line, Army Armstrong, here he comes.
Butch, it's almost like a dream Final Four. If the Equalizer wins, he'll go against the Carolina Crusher. And Scott Stevens says he is going against USA 1. Will the Dream 4 come out? We're going to find out in just a minute. Look at this. Woo! Equalizer playing big-time monster truck racing. He's going to be there. Crusher, Equalizer, USA 1, and King Crunch. There were only 4, and that's who they were, Butch.
Here's Army with Dave.
Well, we're not pulling any bones about it. Gary Porter says he's going to hammer you to the wall. Whatever it takes, he's going to put you away today.
I'm really not worried about Porter today. I'm trying to hang on to the end of the season. I think I've got enough lead on him that I can finish. I want to finish ahead of him bad, but if I can't, I'm going to save the truck for the very last of these races. So I need to finish these races.
Semi-final round pairing, and look what we got, Army Armstrong. It'll be Carolina Crusher against the Equalizer.
It is amazing how the cream always comes to the top. Number 1 and number 2 in the national points chase, sitting side by side. The winner's going to go against the Texas GMC. Both of these trucks are powered by Chevrolet. Who's going to go against Stevens?
Listen to the engine roar. Who's going to be? It's anybody's race.
Gary Porter. Gary Porter. All right. Pulls in a win with the Carolina Crusher. So it'll be the Carolina Crusher against the Texas Bay Crunch.
Back on the starting line, it's pairing number 2 here in the first round. It'll be Tom Bites driving Thunder Chicken tonight for Kid Prairie as he comes up against David Morris and the Equalizer.
David, your current national points leader out in Tennessee, is not taking anything for granted. He'll line up in the far lane away from the camera. This Thunder Chicken truck, man, I tell you what, Butch, he can really come up on you in a heartbeat. He's been to the finals a couple of times this year. Let's see what's going to happen indoors.
Awfully close at the end, but the Equalizer dominates this particular round here at the Omni. So a good win for David Morris and the Equalizer as he continues to lead the points here on the Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge. Our next race in the quarterfinal round is USA number 1 with Steve Wilkie up against the Equalizer and David Morris. And David, he's the rookie. Last year, USA 1 captured the world title with rookie driver Rod Litzow. Earlier today, Army Armstrong spent some time with the owner and builder of the Equalizer, Gary Cook, and asked him about this great achievement by his driver.
David Morris has been almost a Cinderella story this year. How did you pick him to be the driver of your monster truck?
Well, he lives and breathes them. I mean, that's his hobby, his life, his trucks.
He not only lives and breathes them, he drives them, doesn't he?
He sure does. He's done a wonderful job this year. I thought, you know, we was going to shoot for the points, and we never really thought we had that big a shot against the guys with so much experience, but it's come around. It's been a good year for us.
Now Army is trackside with Rod Litzow.
Litzow standing with me at the end of the Atlanta Omni track. You've got a new driver up there. What's going through the mind of that driver and you right now?
Well, basically right now, what I told him when you're up on the starting line with this hump being indoors, you have to come off that first hill a little bit slower. You can pull out of it. But he's getting used to this, but it is hard coming out that first set. That's where the main part of this whole race is, when you come out the first hill.
Let me ask you a question. Is this like any other kind of motorsport? It's a big truck, it's a lot of horsepower, but the most important thing is time in the seat.
Yeah, it is. You got to get some time back there. And he's catching on really fast, you know. That's why we get going. We'll have a good next year.
We go to the starting line for the next call, Butch Krager.
Back on the line we go, and here we come now. It'll be the Equalizer and David Morris as he comes up against King Crunch, Scott Stevens out of Woodlands, Texas. What a match this is going to be.
Butch, let's look at some parallels. Engine location, both engines to the rear and low. Suspension difference, advantage would have to go to the Equalizer. But King Crunch right now, and for about the last month, has been holding the hot hand. Equalizer's had the hot hand all year, but Crunch is coming after him.
Out of the gate we go, and Morris with a hole shot. That's what's going to win this race. If he gets there, he does.
Whoa, close to the wall. Man, they're running them hard inside, Butch.
Man, oh man, right on the brakes. Good job, David. He takes the win right there. Fantastic win for David Morris here in the Equalizer. As you see it, just by the front wheels, how close can you get?
You got the win.
I didn't know. I was worried about stopping for this wall and keeping my truck out of Scott's truck, just keeping everything under control and stopping.
We'll let you go and get back to the pit area. You're going to the final. Two in the final. Yeah, looky here. Equalizer comes out. Lane choice goes to the far lane. That's the Chevrolet. Ford comes at qualifying time. Everybody's on their feet for the final in the Omni bunch. It's Chevrolet against Ford.
And who's it going to be? Out of the game we go. Chevrolet or Ford? Let's watch them go. And it's a Chevrolet night here in the Omni in Atlanta, Georgia, as the Equalizer takes the win. And David Morris continues to dominate the points. Army's trackside with both drivers.
Dave, is this one as sweet as the first one?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I needed that win bad because I need to stay way out as far as I can away from that Carolina Crusher. He's hot on my heels, but I'm going to do my best to put him away this year.
The Equalizer was strong. Every race out, the final events of the season on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. But that race, that win by Clydesdale, really helped David Morris pad the advantage in Atlanta's Omni. Now, when Morris came out, already seeing Crusher defeated, he went up against Mopar Magic. Won it easily. David Morris, the Equalizer, puts Mopar away, smiling already because Carolina Crusher was beaten, but he later revealed to us that the Equalizer almost was unable to race Mopar Magic. There were problems, and they almost didn't have the truck ready for this round of racing, but Gary Cook and crew got it ready for David Morris, and he got the win.
Well, David, Porter's out of this thing. You can really help your cause as far as points go this afternoon in Atlanta.
Yeah, Carolina Crusher being out is going to help me a lot. The Equalizer was almost out. On our qualifying run, we busted a brake line. We managed to get to a local car store in between rounds, believe it or not, put another brake line on.
We'll see you in that next round.
Thanks, Tom.
Reviewing the stretch run for determining a world champion in 1989. Equalizer against the Jersey Outlaw. A lot of Chevy fans in the Omni, and they loved it as the Equalizer put the Jersey Outlaw Ford on the trailer. Equalizer getting the victory. And again, remember, in points, Carolina Crusher already out of competition. Each win padded the advantage further and further for David Morris and the Equalizer. And there you see a convincing win over the Jersey Outlaw in Atlanta's Omni. Now, here's a couple popular trucks. The Monster Smash final in the Omni. Equalizer and King Crunch. Incredible shot by Scott Stevens in King Crunch, considering he had only rear-wheel drive. He stayed with the Equalizer, and as they crossed that finish line, nobody in the Omni knew for sure who was the winner. See just how close the final was. Now, the Equalizer Chevrolet, the King Crunch GMC, side by side in the Monster Smash final, and you'll see here on the videotape, as they come across that finish line, a wheel's all the difference there was between Equalizer and King Crunch. That earned David Morris bad luck.
Well, David Morris, this championship getting closer and closer. Are you sure you flag?
I don't want it, Army.
Congratulations on a great run. But we got to give this guy credit, too. A lot of people counted him out. He ran you hard.
Yeah, I knew he was going to be running hard. He was only running with a rear drive shaft, but I knew he was still going to come down hard on me. We got problems with our motor. I think we busted a head on the motor.
That could be key heading into the final races of the season in Louisville. But as you can see, Carolina Crusher has a lot of ground to make up.
Points chase with a couple of events at Louisville's Freedom Hall. Here on Tough Tracks, Gary Porter knows that Equalizer must go out early for him to catch him. Army's with David Morris and Gary Cook of the Equalizer.
Thanks, Scott. At this time, we normally present the flag to last week's winner. That was the Equalizer truck. And David Morris, here's your flag.
I don't think I want it, Army. I say the flag's a jinx. Every time we get the flag, nothing can go right the next race.
But you are the current national points leader. You've got a real good opportunity to be the national champion. How can you say nothing can go right? This has almost been a Cinderella year for you.
Yeah, start out the year, I knew we could be real competitive. I knew Gary could build a real competitive truck. I really had no idea that we'd be sitting in the spot we are right now.
That being almost a national champion. Just 2 more races till they crown that national champion. Will it be you?
It's going to be us.
Let's bounce over here and talk to the gentleman that kind of brought it all together. This time last year, it was a dream. Now it's a reality.
2 races to go, a good lead in the national points chase, and this kid is doing you a dynamite job, isn't he?
He sure is. He's done a wonderful job. We started out with no experience to amount to anything, and it's really come together. We've got, I think, a super team.
I'll tell you, Army, he's also got an outstanding sponsor. The Auto Value people really getting behind him. And I look for some good things out of Jesse next year.
Yeah, that's going to be a good marriage. He's going to represent them well. They're good people to be involved with. We're glad to have both of them in our sport. And like he said, top 10. Shows you the caliber of trucks we got running here. It's a NASCAR of monster trucks is what I like to call it. That's the way I feel about this sport.
Well, Equalizer, though, is the draw for playing for Keith right here. So while he may be ready for the future, he has got a tough assignment right now.
Get out of the volunteer state. Look at this, playing hard buckle in Freedom Hall.
A victory to David Morris, the Equalizer, continuing to march toward what he hopes is a world championship with a little bit of new scenery back there. Got a yellow fin on the tailgate. Army's going to talk to him right now.
Mr. Morris, you're doing exactly what you had to do, but ladies and gentlemen, all year long he's been awfully quiet and shy. But on the back of the truck, I see a big yellow fin. What's that all about?
Well, they started a new rule. A lot of guys been joking me about it, fin on the truck. They started a new rule. The truck's got to weigh 9,000 pounds. I told them I was ahead and wait.
Is it functional at all, or is it just there to kind of knock around with the guys?
Well, actually, a place called G-Force Aerodynamics out of Portland, Oregon, they furnished the airfoil for us.
He may not fear him, but there's got to be a great deal of respect for the guy he's looking at right now, David Morris and the Equalizer.
Boy, Morris comes out of that left lane like a rocket. Scott, look at this. Equalizer is making it look easy. Johnny K learned something on that run, Scott Douglas.
Equalizer, David Morris gets the win over the Buffalo Tremor and John Kwasniewski in front of an outstanding crowd of people at Freedom Hall in Louisville. Now, the Equalizer knows that every win draws him that much closer to this World Championship, and he left nothing at the starting gate. Got a lot of air and comes down strong.
You know, that truck happens to handle so well for this young man, and this is the only truck he's ever driven. So as far as he's concerned, this is what it's all about. It's a marriage that just worked all year long, Scott.
David Morris and the Equalizer, he's gotten with his truck owner, Gary Cook, and they've really just formed a great bond and become a great team together here in Morris's rookie season. Army's going to talk to David right now.
David Morris coming out of the vehicle. Everything looks awfully good. That may have been a 4-second shot. I don't know what the time was, but it looked quick.
Yeah, I knew I was in the right lane that time. The left lane is much better than the right side. As you can probably see, I probably got a lot of air on that shot, but I knew I had to just hammer it to win, so that's what I did.
Everything feel good to you, though? You ready to go that next round?
Ready to go.
Thanks, Army. Carolina Crusher, USA 1, Equalizer, and King Crunch go on to the semifinal round.
All right, back to serious business, not monkey business here, because it's King Crunch against Equalizer, and the winner goes to the Monster Smash final against Carolina Crusher.
GMC out of Texas, the high-tech truck. You notice the right hand up in the air. What it is, all the electrical components are located on the roll bar, located above and in front of the driver in Scott Stevens' King Crunch, Texas-based Goodyear treaded vehicle. He's hitting the electric fans, trying to keep the engine cooled off. Right before he makes a run, Scott, he will reach up and kill the fans in order to give himself just about another, I would say, 1 horsepower of 1,500 horsepower. That's how important it is. 1 horsepower for the electric fans. Meanwhile, he definitely has his work cut out for him to get through this next round.
There you get a good look at David Morris in his rookie year, living out a dream season with the superstars of monster truck racing. Here in the major league of the sport, he has exploded into it, and he has been the dominant factor, especially over the last couple of months, and he can smell that World Championship if he can just keep running strong this week and next week here on Tough Tracks. He wants to beat Crunch badly and go out in style. They're off!
Trying to make a Cinderella season. Look at this. Both drivers getting a whole lot of air.
You know, Equalizer got the win, I think, because Crunch got launched a little bit too high.
The bad bounce caught the Texas truck.
Equalizer, David Morris getting the victory as they love the Equalizer in Louisville. He has really become a truck growing in popularity. You know, they say winners become popular, and that's what's going on. Look at the smoke out of King Crunch.
Yeah, look, but the bounce is what's so important. King Crunch came out really out of shape. Morris stayed cool, got the
a good bounce, and he's going to the final.
Army and David are really getting to be chatting buddies. They talk a lot, and they're about to converse again here on Tough Tracks. Army, go get it.
David, you've been here before. It's final time, but the same old problem pops up. The steering goes away on the truck.
I don't know if it just where it landed so hard, jerked the tires around. Belt's still on, no hoses are broke, so I'm going to start it back up and check the fluid.
You and the Carolina Crusher in Louisville. Who's it going to be?
Hopefully the Equalizer over the Carolina Crusher.
We'll see you in that final. Good luck to you.
Thanks.
May take a little work, though, for him to knock off the Crusher. You can see David's going to jump in there. There's his lovely wife, Nancy, cheering on David Morris and the Equalizer. He'll be in the championship matchup, the Monster Smash. It's Carolina Crusher's big chance. He's going to face the Equalizer in the Monster Smash. Crusher needs to win badly. Equalizer tries to put him away. And speaking of the real thing, Gary Porter, Carolina Crusher against David Morris and the Equalizer. Tightens up. This is it. Gary Porter desperately needs to win. And it's showtime.
Porter leads good. Can he pull back on the Equalizer? No.
David Morris has put himself on the verge of the World Championship with a victory over the Carolina Crusher. The win to David Morris. He'd have to fall flat on his face next week to lose it.
David Morris, it could be a beautiful ending to a beautiful year here, but even though you're a rookie, you seem to be taking all this in great stride.
Yeah, Gary Cook, the owner of Monster Truck, we come in this last point race here, and he said to go for it, so that's what I'm doing.
We've been talking about Gary all year long. I know he's done a heck of a job, but there's another guy involved in this organization named Ray Thomas. He really helps a lot, doesn't he?
Ray Thomas, he's a super nice guy. He's helped us on a lot of steel fabrication in this truck, a lot.
Congratulations, you're looking awfully good.
Thanks, Army.
Superstars of Monster Truck Racing are once again about to invade Freedom Hall in Louisville, Kentucky. And tonight, we'll crown the second world champion of Monster Truck Racing. Hi again, everyone. I'm Scott Douglas and Army Armstrong. Tonight, David Morris and the Equalizer, barring any unforeseen disasters, will take home the world championship.
1989 has almost been a Cinderella year for this young man. We told you the story last year at this time. He was just a spectator. Now he is going to win a national championship. Like you say, barring anything unforeseen. And in this sport, it's never over till it's over. And Morris knows this. Believe me, he's still a little bit worried about this thing.
You know, you can talk about in different sports, sometimes champions back into titles. David Morris, Gary Cook, the entire Equalizer team is winning this championship on a roll. They've won 3 in a row.
If any motorsport in 1989 was dominated by any one vehicle, it was Monster Truck Racing on the TNT circuit by the Equalizer. He had this field covered all year long.
He certainly has been the strongest truck for the last several weeks. Some guys tried to get going in the middle of the year. Rod Litzow, Scott Stevens, they all had their runs, but he's been the most consistent and the strongest at the end.
The trick word is consistent. He's always, I cannot think of any time he did not finish at least in the top 5s. Now, Scott, when you run as many events as we do, and the worst you finish is 5th, you got to be up in points, and that's exactly where he is.
Army, as we watched David Morris come out to qualify, tell us a little bit about the 75% rule and how these points are figured.
Well, basically what it is, you get points for finishing orders, and they go back and they take 75% of the events that you participated in, 75% of everybody's events. They run a total on it. It really doesn't affect the outcome as far as the total number, because everybody gets cut the same amount, the 75%. But look at this qualifying shot as Morris served notice. He wants to go out in style in 89.
The first round of competition. What I mean by that is this is it in terms of the World Championship. Yogi Berra once said it's not over till it's over. It could be over after this one race, because if Equalizer wins this first round competition, although they'll all battle the rest of the night here in Louisville, this will lock up the World Championship.
Now, Equalizer could go points up for the national championship, but I guarantee you this kid out of Georgia in the Clydesdale truck does not want to be the one that gives him the national championship, and he's going to lay it all on the line. That'll be Bennett Clark. Both of them rely on a supercharged Chevrolet engines for the horsepower. Like you say, a national championship championship, the end of a Cinderella year, could take place in just a moment. 1 year ago, bought a ticket to see a monster truck. In just a matter of seconds, he could be a world champion.
David Morris straps the goggles on. He'll be pulled to the starting line by track official Tracy Smart. This is what it's all about. Got to be a few butterflies, Army, even though he's run all year.
You know, I noticed this afternoon that exact what you're talking about. He was just a little bit nervous. We teased him about it. He said, oh, no, but believe me, this kid, like we say, the All-American story is about to happen. Look at this. David Morris, your 1989 national champion, world champion, Scott. He won it.
He put it on the line right there and left no doubt in anybody's mind that in 1989, he's the best. David Morris.
Well, David Morris, you're inching ever so close to being that national champion. What's going through your mind right now?
Beating every one of these guys here tonight. I'm going to try to take this weekend with a win.
Going to go out here in a blaze of glory and be a national champion, huh?
That's what I plan on, Army.
Good luck. We'll be watching you.
Thanks.
Gary Porter in the Carolina Crusher, and now he goes up against that rookie, David Morris in the Equalizer.
You know, since we've been doing these things with the Carolina Crusher driver, both of these guys have been playing mind games with each other. Neither one wants to go to the starting line first. Now the Renegade official brings them forward, but both drivers are still playing mind games. One of them's going out for the rest of the year. Who's it going to be? Neither one's going to give in to the other one. It's a good, old-fashioned street fight. Carolina Crusher going against the Equalizer.
Porter wants him, but Morris has been the better truck for the last month of the season. They're at the starting line and about to go in the quarterfinals.
Both of them lead side by side, but look at Morris. Comes over the jump.
Does he look strong tonight or what?
He looks so strong and he's so smooth, Scott.
Adding insult to injury, David Morris in the Equalizer after wrapping up the World Championship now puts Gary Porter on the trailer for the year. One more time, the final run of 1989 for Gary Porter in the Carolina Crusher wasn't enough as David Morris wins it. He's with Army.
Yeah, well, I'm going to come. There's one truck left that I need to put out tonight, and that's supposed to be the most feared monster truck, but the only fear you have is fear itself, and that's Dennis Anderson's Gravedigger, but I'm going to put him out here tonight.
How about this kid with the Carolina Crusher? He gave you all you wanted all year long. Can't take anything away from him.
He has been nipping at my heels all year long.
He's going on a trailer, and you're going into the next round. Good luck to you.
Thanks.
David Morris and that Equalizer, the Gary Cook prepared, owned, and designed truck, flat on a roll, and is really taking names, you know. Well, Army, Chris doing a little investigative reporting down there on the floor. Let us know that indeed Scott Stevens and King Crunch, that GMC only has rear-wheel drive.
What happened? He kicked the drive shaft out of the front wheel, and he's only going to run in two-wheel drives now. That would bother anybody else. The same scenario took place in Atlanta, and he almost won the event, so he can still be a player. The big difference for Stevens, he's going to the left lane now.
Equalizer really got him out of the hole. It's all David Morris.
Morris has gone into the final of 89.
David Morris and the Equalizer getting it done once again. He has been so strong, you know, some trucks have shown the wear and tear and fatigue of a long season. This guy looks like he's getting better each and every run. David Morris getting the win over Scott Stevens and King Crunch. Stevens certainly has had an outstanding 1989, but the winner here, David Morris and the Equalizer, he'll go to the Monster Smash Final one more time.
David Morris, one more run is going to be the perfect ending to a perfect year. That's what the possibilities are right now. We're with you and Ray Thomas and Gary Cook in a national championship.
Yeah, if our truck holds together like I think it will, hopefully we're going to go out of this thing with a big victory.
Big time. You're feeling you're finally starting to loosen up. I think you realize you're going to be the national champion.
Yeah, I may even put that flag on here afterwards.
Scott Douglas, Army Armstrong, and Chris Chapman back in Louisville, Kentucky. All he needs now is a cape and a crown because the new king of the monster trucks is Equalizer, the world champion for 1989 on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. David Morris winning it. He'll meet the Jersey Outlaw Ford here in the final at Louisville. This Ford running strong, but he's going to have to knock off the best to get the win here tonight. We talked with Gary Cook, who put the Equalizer together, and asked him if he expected his rookie driver to win the world championship.
Well, he may be a rookie in age, but in spirit he's not. He's real calm. He thinks about what he's going to do, and he drives his head, not with his foot. He's a real calm. He goes out and does the job. I didn't know what to expect when we started. He didn't know what to expect, and it's come together to where I think we're a great team.
They certainly are. They're a team that is now on top of the world champions. But takes it going out on top, Army. He has been dominant the last part of the season, and he closed it with a flourish, and what a crowd favorite he's become.
What everybody knows what kid. Congratulations.
You know, hey, there's his wife, Nancy. The newlyweds are really celebrating the honeymoon in monster truck racing, and there you see the battle scars of what's been a tough night.
Hey, he's taking a flag, Scott, for the first time in a long time.
You're right. The jinx is over because the points are over. He'll take the flag. Hard to watch in 1990, but 89 goes to the Chevrolet David Morris in the Gary Cook-owned Equalizer, the world champion.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, kind of a unique situation here. We've been teasing him all year long. He's superstitious, would not carry the flag, but you get to keep it the longest of anybody. You get to keep it till next year.
That's a great feeling. I'm glad to have his flag now. I didn't want it at first, but I've got it now, and I hope we can keep it.
This has kind of been, it's really been a Cinderella story. We told the people about this time last year, you've never driven a truck, you've gotten married, you're starting a family, you're a national champion, teamed up with Gary Cook. It's almost like, can you do anything wrong? It seems to have been a beautiful year for you.
Yeah, it has. We've had a few ups and downs, but as far as everything working pretty good, Gary, he's kept a truck in great working condition, and I've been trying to drive it the best I can, and we did it.
Well, 1989 was your year. Congratulations. You've done a fine job.
Thank you.
Here's the way the final point standings came out in 1989 for the World Championship of the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. Equalizer wins it by almost 100 points over Carolina Crusher. USA won a solid third. Dennis Anderson in the Gravedigger finishes in the fourth spot. Dave Wysork in Nightlife fifth. Mad Dog sixth, but there it is. King Crunch on this final event of the season overtakes No Problem Crunch and Scott Stevens in the seventh. Then No Problem, Clydesdale, Wild Hare rounding out the top 10. A great season of TNT Monster Truck Racing, and we're going to be reviewing all the great action over the next couple of weeks with all the wild runs in review here on Tough Track. So stay with us and follow the action each and every week right here on Tough Track. For Army Armstrong and Chris Chapman, I'm Scott Douglas. We'll see you next week.